What's up, heathens? How are y'all doing? I hope you're having a lovely Saturday night. I know I am. I'm totally excited to be here with Black Atheist Rants, or BAR for short. Hey there, Black Atheist Rants. How you doing?
What's up, man? I'm here. I'm ready.
You ready? Yeah, I'm
I'm
ready
ready.
too. Uh, Everybody in the chat, everybody watching, make sure you like it. Hit those reactions. There's these cool new reaction things on the side. I think that probably sends a signal to YouTube to tell them to send dumbasses our way, and we would really like to talk to some today. So if you would care to do that, that'll help us out there. You can send in super chats. We will be addressing any super chats $5 and above at the end of the show tonight. So definitely send in those super chats if you have a question for Bar. If you have any kind of anything that you want us to interact with, please send them in. We're going to be talking and getting to know Bar here in just a second, but I just wanted to let everybody know that in order to make this show great, we do need people out there sharing this with social media, sharing it with your friends, sharing it with people that disagree with you. Share it all the way out there so that we get some good callers in tonight. Now, Bar, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm excited, bro. This is our first
Yeah.
time doing our thing together. I'm excited.
Yeah, same here. I can't wait to do more stuff with you in
hmm
the future, because I know before the show we were talking about how I could come up on your live here in a little bit when you kind of change up your prompt a little bit. But why don't you tell people, kind of introduce everybody to you, like who you are, what are you doing, why are you doing like the conversations online and everything like that? Just who is Black Atheist Rants?
Right. So I'm Black Atheist Rants, but everybody that know me, they call me Bar for short. And so, my journey to YouTube started from humble beginnings. I didn't even know what the word atheist meant. And I knew I didn't believe in God no more. And I found myself, just had an urge to have these conversations and want to talk about this stuff. And so I went on YouTube and I typed in Black Atheist for the first time, and ain't what no channels popped up. It wasn't no Black Atheist channels that popped up 5 years ago. Fast forward, I took the initiative. I said, when you type in Black Atheist on YouTube, my face is gonna pop up. And 5 years later, we here and we going strong. And I basically I use my platform to speak on these religions, these Abrahamic faiths, these God beliefs, and the historical aspect of it, the anthropological aspect of it, the violence, and the just the history, how it has played a role in the oppression and the colonialism and the subjugation of Black people. And so that's what I use my platform to do, and that's we stand firm on that over there at Black Atheist Red.
Yeah, so why did you choose Black Atheist Rants? Like, did
Mm,
you did you start off in a very ranty, sort of angry atheist kind of position?
hmm
Is that's why?
100%. I was, just I was, I felt lied to for so long, and just seeing your whole world crumble like that. Like, wait a minute, all this stuff I believed it wasn't true. So I was, I was upset, and you know, I spent a lot of my early time just ranting, mad, and preaching the truth. But it's like the name still sticks because we should be upset about this stuff. When you look at the history of it, we have every right to be upset. We have every right to call it out, and we have every right to protest these injustices, these Abrahamic religions, these dogmatic faiths. So the name speaks for itself.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I definitely found myself in a similar situation when I
Mm,
deconstructed from religion. I was, I was pretty angry, not like because of anything that I had been taught necessarily, but just because of how people decided that they were going to start treating me, and so it was
mm,
more, I guess, reactionary in
100%.
that kind of way. But so what was the sort of the linchpin in your deconstruction? Like what did that look like for you?
Well, when I was in, I used to go to Christian Brothers University, and I was taking a, philosophy. I tell this story all the time, but I was taking a philosophy class, I'm sorry, I was taking a religious studies class, which is just looking at the Bible. I was taking a religious studies class in the morning, and towards noon, I'm taking a philosophy class. And so it was literally going from reading these biblical stories in the mythology to learning how to think, how to challenge, how to question, how to ask these big questions. I had never done that before. And so that's really where you see the dominoes and the snowball effect. It just boom, like, oh, wait a minute. People actually question the existence of a God. Oh, wait a minute. There is no evidence for a God. Oh, wait a minute. People actually do this publicly where they debate and have discourse about this. So it really kind of shattered everything I thought I knew about, the world and how it works. It just came tumbling down. I had to relearn, unlearn, and then re-educate myself. And just, you know, I've spent a lot of my time recently diving into like history, time, people, places, events, the dates. You know what I'm saying? Just external critiques of religion, not the dogma, not the theology, but the external evidence, empirical. What do we have? And so that's what really shook me. And man, all this shit came crumbling down.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even consider like the external bits of it,
Mm,
right? Like I didn't even consider the external, any kind of the external evidence, either confirming or disconfirming anything that was part of the Bible.
mm-hmm.
When I was confronted with it, I was just like, yeah, I just simply can't believe this magical shit. So it's like, what do I do now? Kind of thing. And so that's why I decided that I was no longer a Christian. I had to figure it out, and it took me like 6 months or more to figure it out. And one of the most powerful tools that I found was debates, like people having debates, people taking part in debates, being able to see both sides juxtaposed against one another, and seeing which one has the more evidence to support it. That was the biggest motivator for me as far as like becoming an atheist, or at least admitting that I was an atheist. And speaking of that, like, what would you say is your best argument against like the Abrahamic God, like any version of the Abrahamic God?
Well, I get asked this a lot, but I tell people, look into the cultural and religious anthropology of these peoples, of these ancient cultures and civilizations in antiquity. When you actually like, because everybody, when they have this conversation, they're always talking about this one singular, all powerful creator. When you look at the anthropology of these deities, this is widespread. There has never been one God. There's always been multiple. People have always came up with gods. Every culture, every civilization that we know of that has ever existed, they created spirituality, created deities, created creation stories. They came up with mythology. And so you got to ask yourself, what makes one group's mythology transcend over the others? How can this tribal god from the Levant be above the rest? It's easy to be, oh, I'm agnostic about God. It's because you think God is one. It's one. This omniscient, omnipresent. No, gods are men in the sky. They have always been men in the sky. You look at the history of that word and how it's been used. It's always been used to refer to men in the sky. And when you look at the historical aspect of these religions, there's no way you could, oh, this one is true over the rest. When they come out of the same melting pot, that you look at the creation stories in the Babylonian creation epic and the Mesopotamian mythology, all this stuff comes out the same region. There's no way. There's no way one ancient tribe's mythology can supersede the rest. No. Easy money off the table. Off rip, we are dealing with cultural and tribal myth. The only way a myth can supersede that is violence, imperialism, colonialism, trade, conquest. That's it. Outside of that, it's reduced to mythology. Think of every god, think of every pantheon, every mythos, every spiritual system that we just automatically, oh, I know that's made up. Based on what? Violence, imperialism. That's the only way a God can survive, or one could actually believe that this one true God or this God is truer than the rest. That's the only way.
Yeah, what do you how do you respond to somebody that is trying to convince you that like Christianity has always been star spangled awesome, or that like Christianity has been a major force for good, or that
No.
like for like a common one that said is like Christianity helped end slavery. Like what's your
Mm.
reaction to that?
My people watching, they're gonna laugh at me when I tell y'all this. I have a 5 hour, it took me 5 hours to respond to a Christian apologist who said what GE just said. Well, Christianity helped end slavery. We gotta get rid of this. Christianity is what caused the transatlantic slave trade. Christianity is the colonial law of the transatlantic slave trade. It is colonial law for the justification of the enslavement and the colonization of African people. It is, they literally base their colonial laws off of the Bible. You can't come behind that and say, well, Christianity helped end something it created. There's a book people can go and read. It's called Black AF History, where it literally talks about the transatlantic slave trade starting over a church fight. These like this is one of the most damaging pieces of information that has ever been spewed, because it's not true. African people, black people, were fighting for their freedom and liberation long before their Christianization. And we can't reduce everything down to Christianity getting credit for it. Historically incorrect. No, people don't people don't talk about things like the doomed verses of 1452, where the church said, go in and reduce everybody to slavery. Everybody. Yeah, they don't talk about the Romanist Pontifex, where the church said they have no sovereignty, they have no autonomy, take everything. Or they look. No, when was the last time a person having these conversations brought up the doctrine of discovery? Any land where there's not Christians, take it all. This is the church, backed by the church. And I'm gonna land my plane. There's a book y'all can go and read. It's called Black Labor, White Wealth, and it talks about every single Protestant denomination of Christianity profited, benefited from, and supported the transatlantic slave trade. Every last one. Your Protestant domination would not be here today if not for Catholicism, if not for the transatlantic slave trade, if not for the doomed verses and them forcing it on everybody. And then they come behind this and say, oh, Christianity helped end slavery. No, stop that immediately.
Yeah, it's always amazing to me that they try to run that particular argument because it seems to fall more in line with like an advancement in secular
Mm,
humanism or
mm,
like the Enlightenment of you know that time period that caused them to actually change what was interpreted out of the book
mm.
instead of like the book always being right. It's like you know, well, we're just going to reinterpret what they mean by this kind of thing right
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
And so it's always kind of crazy to me when they say that. Now, some might push back on you for the Bible or any holy book out there. It's like, well, maybe they did that, but there's still good things in the book. Like there's still like it says don't kill people, right? So that's got to be a good thing. And they'll point to stuff like that.
Yeah.
How do you generally respond to those kinds of like you know, there's still good morals in the Bible.
Mm. What I try to tell people is ancient groups of people were moral prior to their Christianization, prior to a Bible. So we can't say our morality comes from this biblical deity. No, no, sir. Um, the same Bible that you're getting your good scriptures out of, like I just said, they use that same Bible, whether you agree with their interpretation or how they used it or not. They got their justification for what they did out that same Bible, literally the same book. So how do you come behind that and cherry pick the just the good verses? You know, there's a video on my YouTube channel where I talks about uh the bad verses override any good verse in it. Literally. For every one verse telling you to love your neighbor, turn the other cheek, they're telling you to go into the city and get unalive them all. If she's not a virgin on her wedding night, take her to the gates and let the men throw big rocks at her until she unalive. How do you look past that and say, but they told you to love your neighbor? God gave his only son. That don't mean nothing when they getting the violence out the same book. When Deuteronomy 20 is talking about offer them slavery and they refuse, unalive all the men and take the women and children. Anyway, I'm not saying whether you believe they use those scriptures the correct way or not, that's how we're Christian. That's how you're Christian. You're not Christian because of have you heard the good news? And I want to tell you this story about my Lord and Savior. Swords, knives, guns, violence, bloodshed. That's why you're Christian. That's why you're even having this conversation about a good verse out the Bible. Somebody had to be unalive. Somebody had to get their fucking heads chopped off for you to even be having this conversation about a good verse out this book.
Yeah, I mean, it would be hard to come back against that, I gotta say. Now, I do have more questions, obviously, because that's how I work. But we do have somebody that's called in. Are you ready to take a call?
I'm with it. I'm ready. It ain't
right.
nothing to me. I'm fired up.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm gonna try to let you take the reins mostly tonight if I can. But so first we've got Bud Sidham from it says Ghana. Oh no, they terminated. They went ahead. Sorry, they terminated early. They self aborted. That's so sad.
They were calling from within the US on the web caller, so
Yeah,
we might have dropped them because that's against company policy.
Yeah. Well, I was about to be like, why should I was gonna get them up here and be like, why should we trust anything that you're gonna say if you're saying that you're from Ghana, but you're actually calling in from Tulsa, Oklahoma?
We do have another one that's about to screen, though. I'm excited for.
Yep. We'll vamp until they can get screened over there.
Everybody better hit the like button while we wait.
Yes, everybody hit the like button.
Please hit that like button. Come on now.
Yeah, and if you're in the comments right now and you disagree with anything that we're saying here tonight, definitely call in. The number is 720-619-2288. You can call in and you can, disagree with us, talk to us, bring your best arguments for God. Or one of the things that both Bar and I share is that we're both mythicists. We don't think that Jesus existed in history. I'm not sure how Bar comes at it. We may get into that here in a little bit, but I'm very interested in his take on how not historical Jesus is. But as far as the Christianity and the goodness of Christianity and everything like that, I have a different take than some people on that passage about, testing the virginity of a woman. I think that God, if people want to maintain that God is all knowing and that he made the human body, he's the perfect designer and everything like that, that can only lead to the fact that God wasn't wrong when he designated that, you're supposed to look for, the virginal blood or whatnot on the sheet. I think that God mandated that so that people would kill, unsuspecting virgins, that could actually happen. I mean, it wouldn't be out of his wheelhouse to do it. So I don't know. I take it as God being that kind of shitty. Now I'm wondering what is maybe your favorite verse to use in these instances of oh yeah, God is good all the time, God and all the time God is good. What would be a good verse that you would pull out of your back pocket there?
If they say God is good all the time.
Oh yeah, have you not heard that before?
Well, it's not that I haven't heard it. It's just I was saying before the show started, I don't really entertain internal critique, because if I allow the hypothetical, I've just
Mhm.
given you the floor. No, your God is made up. Desert tribal God from the Levant region. I'm not about to hypothetically. Why did God put Adam and Eve in the? I don't really do that with them. So when
Okay.
they a verse about or if they come up talking about God is good all the time, off rip, I don't even know what to say to you, because you're literally talking about myth. You're talking about fiction. Gods are made up, egregores from the minds of humans. Every verse in that book was written by men. Every last verse, not a God inspired word. So if we're having a conversation about the Bible, I guess we would have to be like, why did these men write this verse if they believed in an all good God or something like that? But yeah, no, gods are made up, and that's what I tell them every single time they even try to come at me with some type of I guess a theological. No, gods are made up. Yours is made up.
No, I think that's an interesting way to come about that. I mean, so my initial thing is like when somebody's like, well, God is good all the time, God is good. And then, partake in the internal critique of it. Like my brain automatically latches on to like, well, is that really true? Like, let's take a look at what actually
Yeah,
happens in the
yeah.
Bible. Is that in
I
any
see what you're
way
saying.
like
I see what you're saying.
indicative?
I'm with you. I'm with you. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if in that instance, I would go to the verses about, if your God is all good, why do disobedient children need to be stoned or something like that? I guess I
Yeah.
could try it, but it's
Oh,
like
no, I'm
when you
not
do
saying
that.
that you sorry, I
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
saying that you needed to or anything like that. I
You know
was
what I'm
just
saying? Like
saying
if
that,
if
like,
I did, I'd probably, like the verse about the unaliving women who are not virgins, or stoning disobedient children, or there's a story in Chronicles 15 verse 13 where they made a covenant with God, and then it was like, all those who do not seek the Lord God of Israel, put them to death. So I'm like, damn, they gonna kill us because we don't want to believe, like, that type of thing. Is Why does a God care if this random group doesn't believe in him? That's just maybe something like that.
okay. I think that's a good way to tackle it.
Mm.
We do have somebody calling in from the UK to actually directly interact with you, Bar. So I hope you're ready for this. We've got King David, who's a theist, calling in from the
King David is
UK.
crazy.
What's up? Yeah. What's up there, King David? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How y'all doing?
I'm doing all right.
Doing good,
So
man.
you
Good,
say that you
good.
disagree with Barr on the transatlantic slave trade, and you want to talk about Black history and religion. So why don't you start us off here, King David, with like at what point do you disagree with Barr?
Okay, so I would say what he was saying is pretty much that Christianity was the reason for slavery, and I just feel like I can understand where he's
Well,
coming from with that, but could he
well,
expand
no,
on
Both.
that
King
a bit?
David. Well, King David.
I can
Sorry,
address that.
yeah. Well, I was just gonna try to recenter the conversation because that's not actually what Barr said. What Barr
Mm.
said was that it was the cause of the Atlantic slave trade,
Yeah.
right? Specifically.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I got you. I see. So me as an African American, I kind of just put those two in the same box. So when I do say slavery, I'm speaking of the transatlantic slave trade.
Okay.
So
Yeah. You
yeah,
ever?
because
Yeah. So are you familiar with Well, when you and I, as Black people, when we look at the 1440s, prior to any slave trade at all, any type of uh ships or anything, literally they were just kidnapping people. They were raiding and kidnapping people, literally. And then when you look at the 1450s, have you heard of the Doomed Diverses?
Yeah, that's the papal bull, correct?
Right. That's the justification. So we see there where the church has issued out a decree telling the European Christians, go in and reduce them all to slavery. That's what it says. They used the Bible, they used their Christianity as the justification for the papal bulls and the colonial law. You know, during the Renaissance, during the Renaissance, European Christians, even though this has nothing to do with sub-Saharan Africans, European people, European Christians attributed the curse of Ham to those black people. Why? To justify what they were doing. Even though the curse of Ham had nothing to do with us, that they said that we are descendants of Ham, therefore we are reduced. We should be servants, perpetual servitude forever. This is how you get the doomed of verses.
Yeah, and it's interesting just on the back of that that idea first kind of pops up in Judaism, actually, of Ham being associated with an ailment in his skin, and then during the Arab slave trade is where that blackness became synonymous with slavery through the Arab conquest of Africa. This was around the 7th century. So this is when you really start to see that connection to Ham, slavery, and blackness. And then as you probably know with the Arab slave trade, it started in the 7th century. It preceded the transatlantic, and it didn't end until the 19th century. So when it comes to the religious involvement, I can understand what you mean, but I feel like it's kind of because I'm a Black American. I always grew up. I grew up Christian Baptist, as most of us do, and I'm saying my religion is dear to me. You know what I'm saying? Like being a Christian means everything to me, and you know what I'm saying? My family. I'm sure man. Like your family's in it. You got Christmas. You got all these traditions. It's really a part of your life. So when I really stepped back and read the Bible for myself, this is when my grandma was passing, and she always told me, like, read it. And I always was a Christian, but I just read it for myself, bro. And what Christianity teaches, or whatever religion teaches, it's not what the Bible is saying. You know what I'm saying? So when I talk about Blacks and slavery and the transatlantic slave trade, I would go to the Bible and to, prophecy to clear that up for me. And I feel like that's where I sit with the transatlantic slave trade. It didn't happen because of religion. It happened because of the God in the Bible. It was prophesied. Well, does that make sense?
No, not at all.
Yeah. So I would say
you literally like, you were so close, and then you just skyrocketed all the way to the left. You mentioned the Arab slave trade. You mentioned the Arab slave trade, and that is right. They were castrating the boys and taking all of the women as sex slaves. And they were racially enslaving Black people as well. In Islam, the rule is Muslims can't enslave other Muslims. And so Black African people would convert to Islam to circumvent being captured and taken, because if you were caught not Muslim, it's over with. So we converted to Islam out of survival. When you look at when when the transatlantic slave trade happens, the Europeans did not create a system. They just took over from the Muslims, and they did the exact same thing. And so if you are able to understand and look at what the Muslims did and what the Arabs did, you should be able to take that same lens and look at what the Christians did as well. You would not listen to me. And I'm glad you actually said all this, because you're literally the type of people I have conversations with every single day. You as a Black person would not be Christian if not for realism and slavery. You would not be Christian. The only reason why your grandmother was a Christian, the only reason why you're a Christian today, the only reason why there's any Christians in the United States of stolen America at all, the only reason why there's a Christian anywhere on this side of the earth is colonialism. Colonialism is why you're a Christian. How do you feel about, do you think people should practice religions used as justification for their enslavement, do you think people should practice religions used for that?
No, I would say it would be
You said
extremely
no?
unhealthy, and we are. No, I would say that would be extremely unhealthy, and we are the perfect example of that exact thing. And look at the state that we're in now.
Right.
I guess what I'm trying to say. I don't know if you was following me, but I'm just saying, like, according to the scriptures, like I said, once I read the Bible myself, I'm reading like verses like Deuteronomy 28. Are you familiar with that?
Not off the top, but go on.
Wait,
Okay.
which verses?
Yeah, so
Sorry, I was distracted. Which verses?
so it's Deuteronomy chapter 28, and is I think there's about 68 verses, but there's some key ones that I wanted to point out. So basically, before I do that, like bro was saying, like when it comes to just religion in general, especially Christianity and Black people, the relationship really hasn't been good at all. It's been awful. Like he said, the slave trades back to back in the midst. Our sons and daughters being given.
Not even just the slave trade, though. Not even just the everybody talks about slavery. It's not just slavery. It's miseducation. It's like, do you understand what has happened in the name of this God? Do you really understand what we're having a conversation about here?
Yeah, and the thing is,
have you ever heard of? I want to get you to understand what I'm talking about. Have you heard of the Berlin? Have you heard of the Berlin Conference?
It sounds familiar. Could you break that down?
Yes. So all of the European Christian countries got together and they had a meeting with no Africans present. And they're all like, okay. You get that part, we're gonna slice it that way, you get that, we're gonna push this region together, you get that side, and we just gonna fucking carve up Africa how we want and colonize all of it. And there were no Africans present. And guess what they did first? Guess what's the first thing they did? Guess. Just guess.
I'm guessing war, colonialism?
No. They had a meeting about scrambling Africa. It's called the Scramble for Africa. They had a Berlin conference where they all got together and decided we just gonna colonize the whole thing. What do you think the first thing they did was?
Religion.
God,
something to do with
they sent the missionaries in. They sent the missionaries in.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
Me? It's not just slavery. We're talking about extracting all the resources. Have you ever heard of the triangular trade?
Yeah, yes, sir. I'm familiar with that.
Right. In the triangular trade, United States of America got the labor, got the workforce, got the slaves. European countries got all the produce, the product, the resources. Guess what Africa got? Guess. That's what they got.
They didn't get nothing much.
It's a triangular trade now, because everybody talking about slavery, but y'all don't understand what's really going on. United States got the labor, Europe got the product, the produce, the things that are being manufactured, the resources, right. and guess what Africa got?
Well, I know they was giving us like guns and liquor, things like that.
Guns. Yeah. There's a triangular trade. The labor, the resources being sucked out, and there's an influx of guns coming in. That's what we got. So when you see all these destabilized countries, listen to me. When you see all of these destabilized, we're talking about destabilized countries, regions that have been pushed together that should not have been pushed together, lines that should not have been drawn. You look at King Leopold, they were chopping hands and feet off for not meeting the rubber quota, brother. We ain't talking about just slavery. We talking about mass extinction, mass genocide, mass colonialism, not just slavery. Because when we talk about slavery, oh, slavery predate, yeah, everybody's desensitized to that word. I'm talking about going in and reduce. Hey, look, I see that y'all are these two tribes are in conflict, and they're fighting over who wanted to do business with the Arabs or not. All this brother versus brother, these separate tribes fighting. And here come the European Christians. Well, look, the Romanist Pontifex says we can take it all, reduce them all to slavery, and take everything from them. How are we going to do it? Well, they're already fighting each other. Oh, we have guns. We're going to give every side of the conflict guns, and we're going to make them bring us their prisoners of war. Why? Because if you do not participate in the exchange for guns, for prisoners of war, guess what happens? The other side we just gave guns to, they're coming. And they're coming with guns, and so it was either participate and give up prisoners of war for guns or get overthrown and killed anyway. Because remember, this is after the Dum Diversas and the Romanist Pontifex. You were seen as less than before they traded anything with you. So whether you accepted the guns and gave prisoners of war or not, you were still going to be reduced to slavery. You were still going to be subjugated. You had it. What was you going to do? So when we talking about this whole Christianity thing, it's not just slavery, bro. It's not just slavery. We haven't even touched on the United States. It's not just slavery.
Well, it seems like one of the world's biggest conspiracies, if I'm honest with you, and I hate to have the puns intended, but it was of biblical proportion, right? Like, and that's my main thing. Like,
God.
why would God, if God does exist, why would God allow that to happen to us?
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? Like, what?
That's a question
like
for you. That's a great question, though. Why would you worship a God that would allow that? Why?
Yeah,
I'm asking you.
Yeah,
why?
and that's why. Yeah,
Well,
and that's what I
King
really.
David,
that's what I.
So King
Yes,
David,
sir.
if I can ask real quick, because you seem to be pretty adverse to the idea of Christianity supporting, or at least being a very strong support of the African slave trade. Can you tell me what in your religion or what in your belief specifically you think would make you think that God didn't support that particular system?
So you saying, what do I believe that would make me think that God wasn't, that he didn't support it, like he was against it?
Well, right. Well, specifically, what in your religion would give you the indication that he didn't support the ownership of another person as property?
Yeah, so I feel like as far as ownership and slavery, yeah, that's in the Bible. So people are owned in the Bible. But the slavery that the transatlantic slave trade is not the slavery in the Bible. Now,
can you distinguish? Sorry for interrupting real quick, but can you differentiate between the two? Like, what's different about the African slave trade when compared to what's in the Bible? And then I feel like Bar's going to cook you on this.
Well, yeah, just like, for example, the Bible says, do not steal a man. And obviously we were stole. So that's just a small example. But when it comes to the
hold on. So King David, is that the only way in which people were put into slavery?
With the transatlantic slave trade, no, but it was the main.
No. I'm talking about in the Bible. No, I'm talking about in the Bible, because the Bible does have the man stealing thing. And sure, I'll give you that. They said don't steal people. But was that the only way in the Bible, in the biblical days, that you could have become a slave?
Oh, no. So there was, prisoners of war. There was servitude through,
So some slavery was okay, but just not the man stealing version of slavery. So like if one group goes in and takes over another group and enslaves all of them, that's perfectly fine, correct?
Yeah, so like I said, it's the difference between the biblical slavery. It's not the transatlantic slave trade slavery, like chattel slavery.
Okay,
like
so hold on. Let me. So King David, King David, we've got Leviticus 25, 44 through 46. I don't know if you've ever read that, but it establishes that you can purchase slave labor or slaves from the nations around you, right? Now, that seems to coincide with what the United States was doing when they were purchasing slaves from Africa. And I'm kind of curious, Bart, how were the Africans, how are they like procured in order to be sold off? Like, I don't know if you know the history of that or whatnot, but I'm kind of curious as to how that happened in Africa as part of the African slave trade.
Yeah, so it would be basically the. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hold on. Let Bar answer.
Yeah. So when you look at the transatlantic slave trade, there was no quote unquote buying as what we think about in our head. They didn't buy slaves. It's called what they did was they turned Africa into an arms race, which is what I was describing earlier. The Romanist Pontifex is how they fueled. They used that as justification, and that's how they fueled the transatlantic slave trade, by turning Africa into an arms race, by bringing in the guns and literally, hey, look, y'all are already fighting. Y'all are literally fighting over, because the Arabs were already over there. That stirred a lot of things up. And, these are separate groups of people, separate tribes, separate nations. Everybody ain't going to agree. So we have conflict.
Exactly.
But see, with the arms race, now you have this influx of guns that is literally industrializing the conflict to where we're literally fueling our transatlantic slave trade by coercing y'all, because y'all are fighting anyway. We're just introducing guns so that you can give us the prisoners of war. That is how they fueled the transatlantic slave trade. Remember, this was not like an equal exchange. These people did not think of these. They didn't think of these African people as an equal buyer and seller, because this is after the Doom Diversas and after the Romanist Pontifex. The transatlantic slave trade comes after those two papal bulls. So when you look at what those papal bulls are talking about, they saw you as less than, and they were trying to reduce you to slavery and take all your resources anyway. They were going to do it anyway. In the 1440s, they were just kidnapping people. Literally, this is before a slave trade. So by the time we get to a transatlantic slave trade, you're already being reduced to slavery. You're already being your resources and your land is already being taken from you. We're just introducing pew-pews to get the rest. That's how they fuel the transatlantic slave trade, by turning Africa into an arms race. They didn't go and, hey, look, I got $50. You can give me the short one over there. Historically incorrect. No. Hey, look, y'all are fighting anyway. Here goes some guns. Give me the prisoners. I'm just going to sit back and reap the benefits from both sides. This is how this happened.
Yeah, so I want to bring this home there for you, King David. Yeah, well, I want to bring this home for you, King David. So what Barr just laid out there was that they were participating in the exact same kind of slavery, the procurement of slaves that is taking place in the Bible, that God has put his stamp on, that has said that this is okay. So now that we've established that for you, what else in the Bible seems to indicate that God is not okay with that, even though God says that he's okay with it?
Now, I would argue with his point, even though I strongly agree with it. He's still saying that Christianity or the religions, the Roman religion, was responsible for it, for that specific type of slavery. Like I said, that chattel slavery is not in the Bible. Now, slavery is in the Bible, like I mentioned.
I'm so sorry, King David.
The chattel slavery is 100% in the Bible. It's in there.
Right. It's Leviticus 25, 44 through 46. Do you want me to read it to you?
Yeah, I got Deuteronomy 28 where the chattel slavery is in it, but I want to show y'all what I mean if I can bring it full circle. That's why I wanted to bring that. So if I can just get like maybe a minute and a half just to say this. So in Deuteronomy chapter 20.
No, hold on. No, sorry, that's not how this show works, okay? So first off, I want to establish here what it actually says in Leviticus, and then we can get to your Deuteronomical verse there.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So Leviticus 25, 44 through 46. I just want to read this to you because I don't know if you've actually read it. It says, your male and female slaves are to come from the nations around you. From them you may buy slaves. You may, and I want you to listen to this part really carefully, okay? You may also buy some of the temporary residents living among you and the members of their clans born in your country, and they will become your property. Do you understand that chattel is property, right?
Yes.
No, chattel is property, but property of
right. Okay, good.
Property of an animalistic way. That's why it's called chattel, like cattle.
Right,
so
right. They're dehumanizing. Right. They're dehumanizing people in order to represent them as chattel. So they will become your property. You can bequeath them to your children as inherited property, and can make them slaves for life. But you must not rule over your fellow Israelites ruthlessly. So this is how, that last part right there is how you distinguish between indentured servitude and chattel slavery. If they're an Israelite, they're not to be, unless they opt to become a slave for life, they are not to be treated as a slave, or they're not to be taken as a slave, which would fall in line with your man stealing thing. But as far as from the nations around them, just like in the African slave trade, just like in the Bible that is affirmed both in the New and the Old Testament, you can purchase them as property. You can keep them, you can bequeath them to your children and everything like that. That's chattel. Now, let's go on to Deuteronomy 28, because you think that this somehow absolves your God.
All right, I appreciate it. So basically in Deuteronomy 28, if I could set the scene, this is when the children of Israel are coming out of Egypt, you know, the whole let my people go, and they're about to approach the wilderness, and they're entering into the blood covenant with the Most High God. And with this blood covenant, you know, covenant is an agreement with rules. So in chapter 28, it says, and it shall come to pass, if thou hearken diligently to the voice of the Lord to observe all his commandments, which I command thee this day, the Lord God will set thee above all nations. And then in 15, he says, but if thou come to pass, and thou shalt not hearken to the voice of the Lord, and to observe all his commandments, then I shall put curses upon thee, and they shall overtake thee. In verse 32, these get into the curses. This is one of the curses. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given into another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all day long, and there shall be no might in their hand. 37, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. 41 says, thou shalt begot sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. 45 says, moreover, all these curses, it says, moreover, all these curses shall pursue thee and overtake thee, and thou shalt be destroyed, because thou did not hearken unto the voice of the Lord to do his commandments and keep his statutes. 46 says, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Therefore thou shalt serve thine enemies.
David, I got to stop you right here. I'm sorry. This is like way too much preaching. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me. Listen, I get where you're going.
Are you seeing the similarities, Black atheists?
No. So you're trying to draw a distinction. Hold on, David. Tell me if I'm wrong about this. I'm trying to steelman you here. You're saying that in Deuteronomy 28, it predicted the African slave trade because apparently they did not follow God's law, and so therefore God commanded that the Africans get taken into slavery. Is that your argument here?
Yes, prophecy.
Okay, well that's kind of dumb, but So this part right here is talking about, you know, the consequences of not following God's law. So then that leads
breaking
me
the covenant.
to right. So that leads me to Exodus. Do you know what Exodus 20:17 says?
Go ahead, bring it out.
Exodus 20:17 is about not coveting your neighbor's property. Amongst the property are listed women and male and female slaves. So by your own admission here, or at least by the logic of your argument, you would have to agree that this would befall upon the Israelites because they did not somehow keep to this particular, like if they would have given up their slave trade and they would have done what you wanted them to do, it seems like you're telling us that God would have forced them into slavery for not taking slaves.
No, slavery was allowed, but there's more than commandments about slavery. There's honor thy mother and father. So these
right.
are the commandments.
I feel like you're not following. I feel like you're not following my argument there. I don't know. Bar, do you have anything to finish up with here?
The last thing I would have to say to you is nothing in that Bible, old or new, has anything to do with sub-Saharan Africa. Not a single word. Not a single curse, verse, prophecy, sermon.
Yeah, but even the early church fathers like Tacitus said that the Jews were Ethiopian race.
No, sir. No, sir. Listen to me.
Yeah, Tacitus said that the Jews were a race of Ethiopians. They were believed to come from a race of Ethiopians.
Is this Black Hebrew Israelite stuff?
Yeah.
I'm reading the Bible. So when it says that the Lord shall scatter
these verses are not about Ethiopians either. It's about Israelites.
It's about the Israelites, but I'm saying that
Africans are not Israelites. Israelites have Canaanite ancestry. They're not Africans. They're not Ethiopians. They're not sub-Saharan Africans. Not a single verse in that Bible has anything to do with an African. Those are not about African people. Africans are not from the Levant. We're not Edomites, wandering Arameans, Canaanites, Palestinians, Hebrew. We're none of that, sir. None of it.
Then what are we?
We're African.
African is a continent with 52 countries with over 1,000 dialects. You got to be more specific. What are we?
The Negroid haplogroup.
Negroid comes from the Spanish word negro, which just means black. You got to do better than that. E1, B1A, that's our haplogroup. That's an Israelite DNA.
Sir,
when they did the DNA test on the Lumba tribe in West Africa, they had the priestly code.
Listen to me. Canaanites are not from the Israelites. Have Canaanite ancestry. Those are their ancestors. Canaanites are not African people. They're not descendants of ancient Egyptians. They're not African. Sub-Saharan Africans have nothing to do with a single Bible story at all. Not a single one. Nothing. Nothing. This is not about it. Unfortunately, we're not the only people who have been subjugated and enslaved and all of that, colonized. We're not the only people.
But what I just read don't match nobody else, people, bro. Come on now. When it says that you shall breathe.
GE, you're muted.
Shit, I'm muted. Sorry, I was just explaining, King David. If you're not going to allow Bar to talk here, then I'm going to mute you, and that's what you are right now. So I'm going to let Bar finish, and when Bar is done, I'm going to unmute you.
Yeah, when you look into the ancestry of these people, they're Canaanites. They come out of Canaan. They come out of the land of Canaan. You and I, we're not Canaanites. These biblical curses and prophecies have nothing to do with us. The only reason why you believe that is because of the miseducation of the Negro and colonialism. That's why you believe that. That's why you believe that these curses have anything to do with you. That is a part of your miseducation. Christianity for the win. They won. They literally won. You're right where they want you to be. These curses about me, historically incorrect, sir. We predate the Israelites. We had culture and civilization, and we believed in deities and pantheons and all these spiritual practices. We had all this before their identity emerges as a distinct group inside of Canaan. So you got to do some research on ancient African civilizations and cultures. We were already there. You cannot reduce us to curses. We predate. Ooh, Lord have mercy. That's the indoctrination. Oh, he done got my indoctrination out, man.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
King David,
can you hear me now?
we've been you're unmuted. I controlled that. So we do need to move on because we've been talking for a good half hour, and so we're kind of ready to move on to our next caller. But as long as
Has
you
it really been 30 minutes?
It has.
That's one for, but a lot of people can learn from that conversation because he's like a lot of people are like that.
Yeah, but you still can't tell me who he is. You said we African, and then you said we're from Canaan, which the Christianity says.
No, sir, stop.
So
I didn't say that we're from.
Yeah, it does. They say
I didn't say that we're from
Canaan. Okay. You said we have Canaanite DNA, bro.
You ever heard of Whataburger?
That's not what he said.
You ever heard of Whataburger?
That's what he said. Do you want to? You can run it back. He said we got Canaanite DNA.
That's not what I said. Are you familiar with
and
Whataburger?
Then he said we ain't the Canaanites.
King David, can you answer a fucking question?
I'm saying, is we African, bro? All them countries in Africa, are we African?
You ever heard of Whataburger?
It's a fast food place.
Yeah, I think you should go there, get you a number 2, and substitute the fries for onion rings. And I think you should just relax for the rest of the evening.
Yeah, that's cool.
Just take a load off, man.
It's all love, bro, because at the end of the day, me and you have similar experiences, and no matter what we believe, bro, our people are gonna come together and we're gonna be all right, bro. So,
not under Christianity.
I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the conversation.
Yeah.
No.
King David.
No, I'm not saying as long
I do want to correct something.
As long as you're an Israelite, you never change being an Israelite.
King David. I just want to clarify something real quick.
And it's funny how y'all resort to us. I never insulted y'all once. Not once, bro.
Yeah, I just muted him.
So that just showed you.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, he's crashing out.
I guess he is. He said he's an Israelite. He's an Israelite. Yeah.
Right. Well, I was going to make the distinction that you were talking about Africans and then saying that they are a distinct group that's different and predate the Israelites. So no, King David, you came on and lied about what Bar was saying, or you're at least either straw manning or you just didn't understand what Bar was even talking about. And so that's not cool. Like as a debater myself, you need to steel man people's positions. Coming up and lying about it when he just laid it all out. That's not cool, man. But anyways, King David, I'm not going to unmute you. I'm just going to go ahead and drop you because I'm kind of done with the conversation. I think that we ran its course and everything like that, and I don't want to give you the chance to try to talk over us and everything like that. Really appreciate you calling in, and I hope that you'll call in the future. But you've obviously proven that you can't hold a conversation where you converse. Before we get to our next call, I do want to remind everybody in the chat, if you disagree with us on Channel 7, there's 2% of people that say, from the 285 votes, that disagree with us and say that you'll call in, and you need to call in. We want you to call in because we want to address these slavery, the topic of slavery with you as it pertains to Christianity and all that. I do want to mention, though, before we get to our next caller, that my wife and I, Casey, we started a 501c3, Rocket City Reason, and we have our first conference this year. And we've asked Bar to be on a panel there. So if you would like to ask Bar a question or, just come and hang out, Rocket City Reason in Huntsville, Alabama, it's October 23rd through 25th. Bar is on the content creation panel with me and along with Jesus Unfollower, and it's going to be, the panel host is the Skeptic. So that's going to be awesome. We also have a bunch of great shows coming up this week. We've always got a fantastic lineup every single week. So this next week is kind of special though. So we got the Sunday shows. We got Matt Dillahunty and Eric, Skeptics and Scoundrels for the 1 p.m. show. And then for the late night show, we've got Forrest and Promise. And then on Skeptalk, it's going to be a long night. I'm figuring, because it's Forrest and Erica on Skeptalk that night on Monday. On Tuesday, it's Chewed Gum with Alyssa and Taylor. And then we got Matt Dillahunty on the Hang Up with Dalton, the Bible guy. I don't know if y'all remember my show with him on Skeptalk. And then for TACIS this week, we've got Ben and Riverboat Jack. And then a special thing on Friday, a Cus I Wanna with Forrest and Erica yet again. So y'all get Forrest and Erica twice in 1 week. So awesome. Those are all the shows coming up this week. I hope that you'll tune in because we got great shows all the time here at The Line. And I think that now that we're done with all the announcements, I forgot. Go to rocketcityreason.com if you want to get tickets. But we got a special Line show that's going to be going on that Saturday night. We're going to have a bunch of the Line people there, and we're going to have people up on stage. We're going to be taking calls, swapping people out with each call and everything like that. It's going to be a great time. So that's another reason to come to Rocket City Reason in October. All right. We got another slavery call. You ready to take on another slavery? Slavery and Christianity?
Black History Month, man.
Yeah.
I'm with you, G.
All right. So we've got Tim calling in from New York. He's a deist, and he says that Christianity was not a cause of slavery. Do you want to lay out your thought process here on this wrong opinion? Tim, you there? Is that just me?
Hello.
Oh, Tim.
It's an interesting
Tim,
way
gotcha.
to frame it. Hello.
Hi.
How
you doing, Tim?
I'm doing well. Are you doing well? How are you guys doing?
Yeah, doing pretty good tonight.
Great.
I'm good.
I think that I think that the doctrine of discovery, like you said, was used to rationalize slavery. But I think just because you can use a religion to rationalize something doesn't mean it's the cause of it. You're just giving a green light. But there are a number of early Christians that had arguments against slavery. And the first protest against slavery in the United States was done by Christians, the Quakers. So the idea that Christianity is like inherently going, I mean, honestly, I just think whatever religion they were, or whether they were irreligious, the slave trade would have happened. Hello?
No, we're here. We're just a little dumbfounded by that statement. Bar, go ahead.
Yeah. So, when you look at the you brought up the paper bulls. What you got to understand is that we wouldn't be Christian to this day if not for those Christians using their religion as justification. We read off the verses that support chattel slavery. There's other verses. Whether you agree with their interpretation of the Bible or not, this is not about who has the right interpretation. This is about human history. They use the Bible and the scriptures in it as their justification, whether we like it or not. You can't argue that by talking about the Quakers are irrelevant because listen to me, every Protestant denomination of Christianity benefited from the transatlantic slave trade. Every last one. So when y'all bringing up these Quakers, I'm like, who are the Quakers? If you believe that, what you said about the Quakers, who are they protesting against? Who are they arguing against? Other Christians. And if we go in chronological order, the Christians are the ones that came in, and they're the ones that turned Africa into an arms race. That's Christians. Whether you agree with their interpretation of scripture or not, they did it. Just like with the Muslims. The Arabs came in and they did it. And they used their religion and they forced their religion on black people, and African people converted out of survival. That's why so many people, that was our initial contact with Islam. Same thing with Christianity. Convert or unalive, convert or die. You're trying to come behind that and say, but a couple hundred years later, after every denomination of Christianity has benefited from the transatlantic slave trade, now we got this distinct group that just pops up and starts protesting. you can't the same person that's stabbing you with one hand, and then you're saying, "Hey, look," but they have a band-aid in the other. The Christians are the ones doing the stabbing.
Mm-hmm. And like personally, I'm not a Christian myself.
You're not even a Christian.
I just think
why aren't you a
I'm
Christian?
not a Christian. I'm not a Christian. But however,
why not?
To look at all these people and say, this is a special kind of evil. If everyone is an atheist at the time, what reason do they have not to do the same evil things? Under Christianity, they were, for all the evil things they did in Africa, they created like written languages. The missionaries were creating languages for the people. They had some kind of they gave some kind of valuable, or some kind of value, human value to African people. The Christian people did. So to say that they were all evil, to me, is kind of ridiculous.
Africa had civilization and culture prior to their Christianization. That is a false narrative. That that's actually what the colonizers believed. They called it actually a civilizing mission. That's what they called it. It's not a civilizing mission. The only reason why they thought people weren't civil is because they weren't Christian. You're trying to separate an imperial religion from the empire. You're trying to separate. You can't do that, sir. Regardless of how you believe, listen to me. Regardless of how you believe this religion started, it was an imperial religion when it was brought to us.
Tim, before you respond, I'm going to need you to hold your microphone like a couple inches further away from your face.
It was an imperial religion when it was brought to us. And we would not be Christian if Christians didn't bring it. You can't come behind that and talk about, they're civilizing. And so many countries in Africa are destabilized. The most Christian countries in Africa at the bottom of the food chain. Corrupt governments, people fighting everywhere. Like I said, destabilization, colonialism, and they're majority Christian. Poverty-stricken, majority Christian. Look at all of the African and Black leaders who've tried to stand up and make a way to liberate Black and African people. They've all been assassinated by, guess who? Christians. Under the guise of Christianity at the helm. This country, everybody loves to talk about the separation of church and state. That's new shit. That's new. You look at the doctrine of discovery, Christians took this and Christians took that. And y'all want to come behind that and act like Christianity was not the driving force, played no role. That's misinformation. Do you know how many people would not be Christian if it wasn't forced on them by Christians? You know how many countries, land masses, continents? You people don't know history. Y'all know theology and dogma, and you're a deist defending colonialism.
So
even
hello.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Bar.
I was going to say, even the Europeans, it was forced on them too. This religion spread through violence. Everywhere it went. You're not about to come behind that and talk about some damn Quakers. What are they? What? Sir, Africans were fighting. Africans freed themselves, fighting for their freedom. Quakers have shit to do with it. I'm gonna land it like this. Like I said earlier, not a single Protestant denomination was like every last one benefited from the transatlantic slave trade. Every last one was in favor for it. Every last one. And these Quakers and these people that you're defending wouldn't even be here if not for the Catholic Church, if not for colonialism, if not for the mother church, spreading it with the sword, spreading it through violence.
All right, Tim. Yeah, Tim.
Yeah.
I'm going to allow you to respond to everything that you just took in there.
Sure. Well, I personally think that it's more of a correlative than it is a causative. I think that like I said, I'm not personally Christian, and I do think that Christianity, like you said, even in Europe, was spread by a sword. I agree with that. But I think the idea that it's morally inferior to some other, first of all, like the native religions that were encountered in the Americas, where we knew they were sacrificing human beings, to Viking religion.
Hey, I mean, Tim, I have to stop you right there. The Israelites sacrificed babies to God.
Sure.
Yeah. Sure. So your God likes the baby sacrifice too. So that's not really a factor here. But continue.
Okay, but the idea that this is just some kind of especially evil religion, I think it's a stepping stone. And, you know, for instance, when you're going off about how evil it is, there are studies that show that it's either people with high church attendance or people that believe in God have, you know, lower rates of crime. So whether that's because they believe in God or because they attend church.
If that's true, hold on. If that's true, then why are the prisons in America mostly filled with Christians?
Because aren't most people Christian?
Yeah, that seems to be totally counter to the bullshit that you just said. Right?
Well, you can look into what I just said. Because I was surprised.
Yeah, like, I can, and I'm betting what I'm going to find is that because of the high concentration of Christians in America, that's why the number might be high, that for them being incarcerated. But you can't get past the fact that the majority of people that are incarcerated in prison are Christian, or they become Christian as a result of the fact that there's this perception that becoming a Christian somehow makes you better. In some kind of way, which I don't think that it does. But in any case, that's kind of getting off topic here of like the slavery thing. I still don't see how you can actually substantiate your claim that Christianity is not the cause of the African slave trade. I know that I hope that you heard Barr's discussion earlier about how integral Christianity was to the slave trade. You know, they used the curse of Ham in order to justify it. The Bible was definitely used to make it palpable to people to enslave black people in Africa, transport them over to America. So I'm just wondering where, and I know that you mentioned the Quakers, who are not necessarily Christian, that they emerged out of Christianity, but they're not technically Christian. Some of them identify as Christians, but that's not like a general case for them. But I'm kind of curious, what do you think that they pulled out of Christianity that definitely shows that God would be against the American slave trade?
I think from what I've seen that there's some kind of inherent value to human life, which, I mean, if you're an atheist, why is there an inherent value to human life? Okay,
that's just a pivot. What I'm trying to ask you for is some kind of verse or some kind, like a book chapter verse where God says owning another person as chattel is bad. Don't do it.
Sorry, you said a specific verse?
Book chapter verse.
I think it's called was it just the Golden Rule? I'm not recalling the exact doctrine, but there were a number of debates about.
Well, right, but so you go ahead, Bar.
So okay, this is my problem when people bring up Quakers and all this stuff. Do you know what happened after they freed slaves? You know what happened? Do you know what you talking about the Quakers? Do you know what happened in this country after they let us go? You know what happened? The violence and the crimes got worse. Publicly, you know what the Klan is? Public lynchings, the slave codes.
Isn't John Brown also a Christian?
Are you familiar with what happened after slavery? Are you familiar with how the violence did not go as the violence did not go down as the country became quote unquote more Christian? It didn't go down. Did not go down.
Yeah. Also, modern. Hold on, Tim. Hey, Tim. Modern police systems. They were initially started off as like slave. What was it? Slave retrieval.
Yeah.
Units or whatnot. They even how sheriffs,
the church bombing, the assassination. Do you know how many black towns are underwater because of Christians?
Mm-hmm.
Like you see, this is why y'all gotta stop with this Quaker abolitionist movement. Y'all gotta stop with this, because if what y'all are saying is valid, we should see the crimes against humanity go down. The crimes against black people go down as the Christianization goes up, but it didn't. It didn't. You want? Have you heard of? Oh God, you ever heard of the faith-based initiative?
No. No.
You know, after they because y'all bringing up these Quakers and these they fighting for the faith-based initiative. It comes out after they assassinate Dr. King. And I want you to go and look it up for yourself. Don't take my word for it. But basically, this is incentives from the government to the black churches to shut the fuck up about all that goddamn liberation, subjugation, equal rights. Shut up. Shut up. It's called the faith-based initiative. This comes out after they unalive Dr. King. And it's basically, you want some government money? Shut up. Hush up about all that. Talking about civil rights and we won't be quiet about all that. You can get some of this government money for your church. That's what the faith-based initiative was. And y'all up here talking about Quakers. What about the Klan? What about the Klan? You're talking about Quakers. They publicly lynched people after. They would read Bible.
So Tim, I think what we're trying to communicate here is that you can cherry pick and you can fall to some confirmation bias here on selecting a few, the few individuals that oppose slavery and identified as Christian. But I feel like they were driven by their secular humanist side in order to reinterpret biblical scripture to be that way. And I'm not knocking them for doing that, but to then turn it into, well, Christianity ended slavery. I think that's a total mischaracterization of the faith. It's a total mischaracterization of how it's been used since, because it's still being used now to justify, unfairly demonizing the black community here in America. I mean, have you ever heard of the word Kainism?
No, I have not.
Okay, Kainism is a teaching in Christianity where they use things like Numbers 25 and Numbers 31, which is the Midianites when God had Moses go in and slaughter them and take the young girls as war brides. They use that as a teaching to stand against interracial marriages. They have this. Christianity has this entire apologetic for why the races should stick to their own. Right. And they were teaching this all the way through the 1950s. And there's even still some proponents for that particular view now. I mean, I remember when I first got started in the atheist community, I put up a sermon from a guy in, I believe it was like either Tennessee or Kentucky, that was doing a sermon on Kainism to keep the races separate. So like, even if you want to say that there were some Christians that didn't like slavery and so they banded together to abolish it, that doesn't detract from the fact that Christianity has very racist tendencies, and white Christian nationalism running rampant right now is using those very scriptures totally antithetical to what you're proposing here. So it seems like it's not the faith that caused the end of slavery. It seems like it was the better nature of individuals that saw the harm of slavery, and they just so happened to be Christian and just so happened to reinterpret things from their own biblical book. Sorry, the Bible is a book, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, can I make a response to that?
Yeah, we've laid a lot on you, so I definitely want to give you the chance to respond.
So, like I said, I think these are a lot of doctrines and theories that are created as an interpretation of Christianity, and such as the doctrine of discovery. And then when I mentioned the Quakers, I think it was something they created called the inner light. So that was their own personal interpretation. To me, I just feel like you are putting blame on the religion as if it wouldn't have happened. What you're trying to say is it happened because of Christianity, and I just don't. I think there are economic reasons that are the true reason, and then they're giving a post hoc justification for why they're doing what they're doing. Well, you're.
I understand.
I think you're.
Well, Tim, I think you're confusing things here. I think you're confusing, and maybe you're not understanding it, but we're not saying that it was the sole reason for it. There were multiple reasons that factored into it. What we're saying is that Christianity was a main driver. Like, as far as the moral justification for it, and I mean, Barr can correct me if I'm totally down the wrong path on this, but it was more of the moral justification that facilitated it rather than the sole reason as to why it was, at least in the way that you're talking about it. Barr, what do you think?
See, the issue, everybody's stuck on slavery. It's not just slavery. We're talking about your names, you being stripped from your family, your names being changed, your culture being demonized. Talk to any black Christian today, and they'll tell you all that African culture, all that African spirituality stuff is demonic. This is not just, people were servants and in bondage, because you people are desensitized to the word slavery. So it's not just slavery. We're talking about colonialism. We're talking about literally y'all are trying to flatten out slavery and make all this slavery stuff that's been going on the same. No, sir. It's not the same. It's not flat history. There's context. There's nuance. Most of the slaves weren't even brought to the United States. They had reproduction. Y'all ain't hearing me. They had reproduction camps. Get them little teenage girls. Hey, man, line them up. Popping them out. Mass reproduction. People ain't even living to being 40 and no. We're not talking about just slavery. Listen to me. Yes, slavery, indentured servitude, chattel slavery predates the transatlantic slave trade, 100%. But when we're talking about the transatlantic slave trade, who started it? How are we going to say it's not because of Christianity when the Christians used the verses in their Christian Bible to set the stage, to set the system up? One of the very first forms of capitalism is, you guessed it, transatlantic slave trade. Or the capitalism we know today, transatlantic slave trade. How are we going to come behind this and say, it's not the religion, it's just people using it wrong? I tell people this all the time. You people, if you're a deist, y'all want people who've been colonized to read the book. Oh my God. Y'all want people who've been subjugated to read the book for themselves, even though they forced it on them. even though they forced it on you, even though they unalived your people in the name of it, even though it is the justification, whether you agree with it or not, it is the justification that they use. They said that they're going to enslave and colonize in the name of this. They said that, whether you like it or not. You want people who this has been done to just read the book. Fine, get your morals out the book. No, sir. No, sir. You ain't even a Christian. But we're so rooted in the Judeo-Christian culture and worldview that even motherfuckers that ain't Christian defending it. Ugh, man. You see all the stuff that's going on, Trump and MAGA and ICE and all this. I mean, everybody talking about, oh, this Christian white nationalism. This is Christianity. This is what they like. I'm sitting back like, this is what they've been doing. Everybody acting brand new. I can't believe they did that. You don't know history if you can't believe they would do that. You don't know history if you can't believe they would pass that law, or they would vote on that, or they would do this, or they would do that, or he would get rid of that, or he would sign that off, or they would ban that. You don't know history. Y'all thinking it. Y'all are trying to separate Christianity and colonialism. Y'all are trying to separate Christianity from white supremacy. Y'all are trying to separate Christianity from the people who has spread it through violence, and that's the biggest mistake. That's the biggest mistake. And you're historically incorrect. You're flat out wrong for doing that. I got my little soundboard. I'm balling my hands on trying not to press my little clap.
Tim, what do you have to say? We've kind of laid a lot on you.
Sure. Well, I just like to say, like I said, I'm not a Christian, and I wouldn't mind if people stop being Christian, but I just think to demonize and say this religion, these people who follow this religion that, was formative to our country, they were all evil. I don't know if that's a good way to necessarily go about it. And
that's not what I said. I didn't say all people.
Can I finish?
Yes, you can.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, you can. Yes, you
and
can.
I just don't think there's a special evil when it comes to Christianity. And I think we have a tendency to not look at the history, maybe like what is before Christianity. Like at the same time, when people say, oh, Islam has these restrictive doctrines, but they don't, if you look at, for instance, Islamic society before they had Islam, they still had subjugation of women. They still had that. It's not like this is a special evil. This is just an evolution in our beliefs.
So
go ahead.
I'm an atheist. I reject all of these deities, all of these gods, all of these all of this is mythology. Now, when you say that all of this violence predates Christianity and Islam, I'm with you 100%. There's not a debate there. I never disagree with that. The issue is when y'all want to have this secret respect or this reverence or this like special treatment for Christianity. No. Treat it how you treat every other violent system that's been used for oppression. Treat it the same way. But it's like we're able to understand when it comes to all the ancient mythology and evil violent practices of antiquity. We're able to call out the people who did it. When it comes to Christianity, we just cannot. We gotta differentiate. What's the word I'm looking for? We gotta compartmentalize and separate the two. No, keep is all together. I'm okay with what you said about ancient people being violent and stuff. That's right. But in today's age, when you look at what has been done in the name of these religions, this God, Judeo-Christian worldview, when you look at what has been done, why can't you just say it's not right? It's a crime against humanity. the religion and the people who spread it all together. The whole enterprise is effed up.
So, Tim, I'm just kind of curious here. I mean, you can recognize that we're not comparing Christianity to like another religion, right? Like, we're not sitting here saying, well, Christianity shit, so let's try Islam or try any other religion. As Barr said, we're both atheists up here. We don't think that anybody should be religious for any one particular reason, because the religions don't comport with reality. They're not like real things. And just like with your deism, I know that I'm not sure if you actually think that there is some kind of God out there somewhere that has no effect on us or whatnot. Maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit. But what we're saying is that for the African slave trade, Christianity was a major driver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you asked me a lot of stuff. I don't know. I want to. What do you want me to respond to? About God or?
Well, so yeah, I mean, I'm wondering if you recognize that we're not saying that one religion is better than the other. We're just establishing that Christianity is definitely a driver of the African slave trade. That's what we're saying. And I mean, that's just totally correct. Like that's just factual history.
Yeah, I see how doctrinally Christianity could have or does have evil things embedded into it. But I think that with no religion, people can decide that doing evil things, or what we've interpreted as evil things, through secular values, can be beneficial to them. And I think it's perfectly plausible that with no religion, they still would have enslaved people, and they still would have done the same things.
So it seems like religion is not necessary, right?
Yes, that's what I believe. That's my point.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah. While slavery would have happened with or without religion, the historical fact is that religion was a main contributor to the African slave trade, as well as a lot of slavery that's happened, and a lot of the mistreatment of minority groups in America now. Like, and it's more than just Black Americans. I mean, it extends out to like all minorities in America. So like the motivation, the justification, the thing that makes it palpable is Christianity. That doesn't mean that Christianity is like the main force that like is causing people to do these things. Christianity is the main force that makes it palpable for them to accept it.
Okay, well, but I don't want to get too tangential with this argument, but I know that there were, I don't know if they were necessarily atheists, but there were secular racial arguments like Darwinism, like social Darwinism, like things like that come from a secular.
Yes, but well, no, it's not driven by as anything secular. Secular just means without God. So like that's a meaningless. It's a meaningless thing to apply in this particular situation, unless you're just trying to like poison the well of secularism. But yes, so like neo-Darwinism or the social Darwinism or whatnot. I think that you're talking about what Schittler said and put out there. Sure, people can pervert scientific ideas in order to justify their actions in this right. But my response to that would be like, anybody can use a hammer to open up a car door. Does that mean that that's how the hammer should be used?
I mean, I think that your should is doing a lot of work there. I don't think there's any way, because
right. But what I'm saying is that somebody makes a hammer for the purpose of building things, for a purpose of all those things. Whatever uses that we have for a hammer that we would need it for. just because I can use the hammer to open up a car door, does that mean that that is the proper use of it?
Yeah, I think I hear what you're saying. I think a lot of Christians or religious people would make the same argument about religion, that you're using it
They
wrongly.
could. Well, so I wanna get what Bar's take on this is here in a second, but I could see that if their religion, if their book didn't directly have slavery condoned in it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a lot like getting a hammer and having the rule book for the hammer or the guidebook for the hammer being like, also you can pummel your friend with it. Like if it says like you can pummel you, like this is awesome to use to kill people, then you could definitely blame the manufacturer of the hammer for advocating that people kill people with hammers, right? It's the exact same thing for the Bible. The Bible says definitely you can enslave people from the nations around you. That's what the Bible says, right? And it institutes a bunch of rules for how to treat your slaves and everything like that. And so you're actually properly using it at that point, as opposed to improperly using it.
Okay, you're going to let him speak, or do you want me to respond? Or?
Well, no. I don't know. Bar, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about, you said about the hammer, and the analogy works because the issue is people think that these religions were created for spiritual reason. There's nothing spiritual about controlling people. The Abrahamic religions are designed for control. When you look at the Old Testament scripture, that is a handbook for those ancient Israelites to go and take land. It's yours now. I'm promising land to you. Unalive the people in the land and take it. That's what the Old Testament instructions were for those ancient people. You're telling us that white Christians used that text wrong? No, sir, they did not. They did exactly what the text said. You can't base colonial law off a book that doesn't support what you're trying to do. That don't even make sense. Every single action or every single law or papal bull or whatever that came out, they had religious backing, biblical backing. You can't come behind that and say, I don't think Christianity is this evil or stuff. Sir, these Abrahamic religions are for control. The only people finding comfort in religion are the controlled, are the slaves, are the indoctrinated. Over on my panel, we tell people religion is for the slave. It's not for the people in charge. Oh my God. Y'all think you think Constantine, you think the ruler is sitting up praying and bowing? No, sir. Religion is for the kingdom, for the public, for the masses. So I can keep you in line. It's not for me if I'm the ruler and I'm the king and I'm the man in charge. It's not for me. It's for you. Religion is about control. That's not spirituality. That's not divine. That's not holy. That's not moral. That's control. So anyone talking about, well, it's not the religion, it's the people. You're either misinformed, miseducated, indoctrinated, scared, or a slave. Literally. Those are your only options.
So, Tim, just to remind you of the topics here. So, my analogy about the hammer and how things can be misused, right?
Sure.
And how it's not an indication of how it should be used. And then Bar talking about Christianity as control here. So, what do you want to respond to there?
Yeah. Well, I agree with him. Absolutely, religion is a form of control, but to respond to your point about not using it properly, or you are using it properly, or whether you are, I will say, from what I know, and I'm not an expert on Christianity, I do believe the verses about slavery, they're talking to the Israelites themselves, And obviously, modern people are not the Israelites. So you're drawing an analogy to say, oh, they did slavery in this way, so the modern people are able to do it too. But it's not exactly a decree to the modern people, correct?
Right. Okay. So that's not what we're saying here. So as far as the Old Testament rules go, yes, they did implement slavery, and these were laws given to the Israelites. But you can connect that to the New Testament by passages like Matthew 5:17-19, where Jesus says that the old law, like the Mosaic law, is still applicable to Christians until the very end, right? Until the end of time, when Jesus comes again, giggity. And so once Jesus comes again, then the law will be abolished. So Christianity has saddled itself with the laws of the Old Testament, the slavery laws. So that's the connection there. And what we've been demonstrating to you in this conversation is that Christians themselves interpreted it that way until society caused them to change. And there are still people that are using it that way now because that's what the book literally says. But we've been on the call for 40 minutes now, and I feel like we are definitely kind of circling. We're up shit creek with one paddle here. I'm gonna let you, I guess, maybe respond to that last little thing, but we do have to move on to our next caller.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, I don't disagree that Christianity could encourage, or even maybe that's the doctrine of Christianity. I just personally don't think, I think it's a bit of a leap to say that Christianity caused all these ills, because I believe there would have been secular justifications even with no religion. That's my personal opinion, especially in an earlier time before we had developed systems of human rights. So I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tim, for saying in a lot of words that you didn't understand anything or take anything into account that we said tonight. We appreciate you wasting 41 minutes of our time and not listening to a goddamn word that we said.
I'm happy I can waste it. Have a good one.
No, you are. You love wasting people's time.
You took my call for a reason, buddy. You took my call for a reason, buddy.
If you're going to call in and not listen to a fucking word that we said, you should probably not call in. That's all I'm going to say.
Believe that. All right, have a good one.
Goodbye, Tim. I don't know. I feel like if you're going to call in and you're going to have a conversation and then come away from the conversation not listening to a fucking word that we say, I feel like that's pretty disrespectful right there. Anyways, I do want to let people know that we do still have lines open. So if you want to call in, 720-619-2288, we'd love to take your calls on stuff. We've got 3% of the 305 votes in the chat there say that black people should be a Christian, should be Christian. And that's right up Bar's alley here. So definitely if you think
don't even know where they at. if you're reading this, it's too late, man.
Yeah. A good reminder right now is that we will be addressing super chats. So if you have any kind of thoughts about our last caller, Tim, maybe why he, doesn't listen or something like that. Maybe you got a nice quip for what the fuck is blocking his eardrums. Send that super chat in. We'd love to read off those and figure out what in the fuck is wrong with Tim. Anyways, we've got Luck Dragon calling in from California, saying, was Jesus Christ a real person? We're both going to say no. But what do you got there, Luck Dragon?
Hey, what's up? No, honestly,
I just want to clarify something. Luck Dragon, before we get started, I want to clarify something. You say that your pronouns are Brian. And I just want to say that that's not a pronoun. Okay. Well, Luck Dragon, I don't want to use your name every time. That sounds really stupid. If I go off and say, "Hey, Brian came up and he was," Brian came up and Brian was a real dickbag, and so Brian had a bad time on the show. That's going to sound dumb as fuck. So, Brian, would you more align with me saying he was obstinate, or she was obstinate, or they were obstinate, or something else?
Oh, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I would prefer Brian because that would be hilarious. But yeah, you can call me a he.
Okay, he, him. So next time you call in
That'd be
and
funny.
they say, "Hey,
Brian
what pronouns do you want to use?" Use he, him.
Brian says that. That would be hilarious, man. That would be hilarious if you just my pronouns Brian.
I'm more apt to just call you a little bitch, to be quite honest. But anyways,
oh my God.
Let's go ahead.
That's nice.
Go ahead,
All right,
Dragon.
first of all, I honestly think we agree on almost everything. All right. My point is that Jesus Christ did exist. Muhammad existed. There's a bunch of people. All right, how can I put this? If Elon Musk gets us to Mars, then in 2,000 years, we're going to think of him as a deity. I don't understand.
So Luck Dragon. Let's not bring up that Schittler guy right there. Let's stick to
for real.
Let's
stick
to
Elon
whether or not
Musk.
Jesus.
I'm just making a point.
No, right. I don't care about that point. What I care about is your evidence for Jesus existing in history. Can you give us? Let's start off with your best evidence that he actually existed in history.
All right. First of all, Mary was raped by an uncle, and they tried to keep it secret. So they said that it was a divine, thing by God, like.
Okay, I've muted you, Luck Dragon, because you can't answer a fucking question. This is another claim that does not have evidence behind it. If you're going to use Celsus in the second century there, second or third century, in order to state that there was some kind of Roman, I don't know, you said uncle, which is a little bit different than Celsus, but in any case, I would really love to hear like what your actual evidence is. We're talking about like either textual evidence or some kind of archaeological evidence, which you're not going to have. But what evidence do you have to say these kinds of things?
Okay, thank you for unmuting me. Honestly, the word of God, like Shakespeare writes music, are you going to say it doesn't exist because is it AI?
How many shots have you had before calling in? Look, Dragon, how many shots did you have before calling in?
Shots? No, I'm on weed and beer, bro. But anyway.
Oh, okay.
I'm just trying to explain to you guys that God exists, but man made up the Bible and all that shit is bullshit.
No, okay.
It's
hold on.
Right.
Okay. No. This has turned out to be a totally worthless call here.
Yeah.
Like
no.
No. You're pivoting again. You're pivoting. Hold on. I'm stopping right here, and I want Bar to weigh in on what he's heard so far. But for one thing, I asked you for evidence of Jesus existing, and you continued with more claims about it, right? You did not actually substantiate this idea that he did exist. You said that the Bible's bullshit, so we're not using the Bible. But there's nothing outside of the Bible that actually establishes that Jesus did exist. So I'm kind of curious as to why you think he existed. But we're not going to pivot to like God existing or anything like that. You called in to talk about Jesus existing and the historical nature of him. So let's stick to that. But first, I want to hear what Bar thinks of this conversation so far.
I would have sent him to the Whataburger already. He's lit. He's I don't know. I ain't never heard nothing like that. He
fuck you, you fucking little faggots. You're a bunch
Oh
of
god damn, Luck Dragon. So
Ain't
hold
even
on,
hear
I'm
nothing.
saving.
You hear something? I ain't even hear nothing.
What? Yeah, I know. Let's see.
Get off me.
I'm gonna petition to ban that caller.
People like that. You listen when they don't even deserve the energy to like react. I just act when they do that. I just act like they not even that. You heard something? Yeah, a rat.
No,
It's
that's
a
a
rat.
good tactic. Yeah, he went from zero to bigot real quick there. He does not like being muted by people. Yeah. We do have one that's currently in screening right now. I do want to reiterate to people that Bar will be a panelist at Rocket City Reason, so definitely check out rocketcityreason.com if you would like to if you would like to come meet Bar as well as all of our other amazing panelists. We will be addressing super chats, so definitely get in your super chats so that we can address any of those tonight. Now, Bar, as far as mythicism goes, like how did you come about like the position? I know that you you seem to be rejecting the Bible because it's all made up bullshit. Is that the main reason why you rejected him as a historical person, or like what does that look like for you?
Well, I went down a rabbit hole of looking for the evidence. What really started me on this journey, I had on accident, I came across there's a book written by David Fitzgerald, and it's called Nailed. And again, I never even heard of the word atheist. I'm like, Jesus wasn't real? Come on, y'all just come on. And so I never ever would have thought that I didn't know nothing about, like there was no evidence for this guy. But I read Nail and I'm like, huh. Then I started watching the videos, and I read read Bart Ehrman's book. I read Richard Carrier on the historicity. I'm looking at what everybody's saying. I'm like, wait a minute. Nobody wrote about him. I always, when I first started looking into this, I'm like, okay, if there was a guy turning water into wine and doing all these miracles, somebody would have wrote about him, because they was writing about all the other mundane stuff that was going on. They would have wrote about this. Nobody wrote about him. Then you find out, wait a minute, the Gospels are anonymous. Oh my God. So we don't know who wrote them. And you find out they don't get named until like late 2nd century. So I'm like, okay, well, And then I'm like, wait a minute, everybody who's doing research on this, they're already Christian. So it's like they're incentivized to say that there was a Jesus Christ, but ain't no evidence for no Jesus Christ. And so I'm like, no, I'll just drop it all. They treat this mythicism position like it's some, they could say fringe. Oh, that's fringe. That's not the scholarly consensus. But the Gospels talk about a man being born of a virgin. Talks about rising 3 days late. Like, there is no natural, regular Jesus nowhere. We only have the mythology. We only have the gospel. So you're trying to take that and say that there was this natural, there just had to be a guy. Based on what? Based on what?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's based on the Bible, essentially. I mean, it's based on the Gospels. And it's really interesting that you bring all that up, because the fact that, okay, so I got two thoughts here. The first thought is that even the atheist and secular scholars that are in the field, like actually addressing the question, they're trained by seminaries. They're trained by apologetic institutions.
David Fitzgerald, he wrote another set of books. It's called Jesus, Myth, and in Action, and he's talking about exactly what you talk. It's actually career suicide to be talking about it wasn't no Jesus, or it's like you don't even get let into certain spaces if you don't accept that this guy exists. Like, we talking about there's a financial incentive to say that there was a God, at least a God, something. You know, it's like you got this is major. This is major. And like what you said, they're trained at seminary by Christian schools. They work at Christian colleges where the funding is coming from these Christian what's the word? What's the word for people who went to the school and graduate? Alumni. You know, they are funding they're you know what I'm saying? So it's like you gotta look at this differently. We ain't talking about like what it's not about just did a guy exist. There's money involved, propaganda involved. We talking about, you know what I'm saying, there's funding involved. You know, there's social status and career status involved. There's a lot that go into it, whether or not you believe or whether or not you accept there was a Jesus. It ain't just about no evidence. Let one of these top scholars talk about they come out and say it wasn't no Jesus. It's over with. It's over with.
Yeah, fun fact though, I actually did the book art for Jesus Mything in Action for David Fitzgerald. Yeah,
I like it. Yeah,
it was a great book. And yeah, David Fitzgerald in his first volume on Mything in Action has a study that he conducted, or he had conducted. He worked with people to conduct it that checked for statements of faith at these institutions, and the results of it were like pretty harrowing as far as like how many of them require statements of faith. So that's why if you're gonna if you're gonna tell me like, oh, this person says that he existed and he's an atheist, it's like, okay, well, when they went to school, they had to sign a statement of faith while they were there, so they were definitely like, you know, indoctrinated with all this apologetic shit. Hey, you know, if you're in the comments right now and you think that Jesus existed and you have a reason for thinking that, we would love to hear from you. We'd love to discuss that with you. So if you want to call in 720-619-2288, we'd love to have that discussion. Again, it's 720-619-2288. If you know somebody out there that believes that Jesus existed and has recently said something about that, share the number with them. Tell them to call in. We'd love to hear from them. We'd love to discuss that with them. So definitely call in and interact with us on that. I'm noticing super chats come in. We would love to interact with those as well. So definitely send in those $5 or more super chats. Y'all are doing awesome in the comments there. And it says that there's 4% of people in the chat that think that black people should be Christian. So we'd also like to hear from you guys there. Number is 720-619-2288. Definitely call in. Now, we do have a friendly, I guess, or maybe it's just an atheist caller calling in. Are you ready to field that real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hey there, Craig from the U.S. How you doing?
Doing good. Thank you all for holding tonight's show. Here I am calling and just got work, but I wanted to essentially give my thoughts on the question and forward to you two with regards to should anyone be Christian, particularly minorities. And my answer is actually an interesting one that I want to share, although it does amount to essentially no one should be. Mine would be that, no one should be, but that if they had to be coerced, that Christianity might be an easier one, only for the fact that it's easier to, at least in some cases, to leave, particularly with regards to like no longer being like in secular enlightenment-based society. There's no longer a threat of death or at least state-backed death for not believing in Christianity, and that compared to the stigmas in certain other parts of the world where you can be killed, that it's a much easier religion to just nope out of. And for me, because I'm having a bit of a short. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, you say that it's an easy religion to get out of, but is it really? I don't think that it is. I mean, especially here in America, where there's so many systems that are set up to benefit Christians and Christianity, and to like they provide positive feedback through community. So it's like, if you choose to leave the religion, then you're choosing to give up your community. And I'd like to hear from Bar actually on this, because like the black community here in America is so heavily dependent, it seems, on Christianity for that community and everything like that, that a lot of black atheists that leave the religion, they often find themselves without community. I don't know. What do you think there, Bar?
Yeah. So, I think I understand what you're trying to say, but Christianity, they say, you know, can't be, you really can't be black and not Christian. When they find out you're not Christian, it's like, maybe you don't get unalived on the spot, but I mean, you lose everything. I mean, goddamn, family, friends, your relations. It's a definitely a struggle. It being black and Christian are synonymous, to the point where when you leave that religion, you like an enemy of your own people. Like, it's so crazy, because Christianity is the white man's religion, and when you leave, they be like, "Oh, you and atheism is the white man's religion too." You really can't win for losing, man. But I think the reason why in this country you're not alive for leaving Christianity anymore is thanks to secular humanism, thanks to people, pushing back on um, the dogma and the violence that came with Christianity. Because what do you say about all those years where you couldn't be caught, and you couldn't be, black people were indoctrinating their kids in fear of them being caught and not being Christian. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't want you to let Christianity off the hook because of secular humanism. And you see what I'm saying? Don't let them off the hook. They deserve just as much as all those other places who are unaliving in the name of their gods, because people don't know this, but Islam comes out of Christianity. It comes out of Christianity. Like a lot of the violence that's going on in those other countries and things of that nature. You don't think the United States got a hand in that? These Christian powers these white supremacist Christian powers got a hand in it. So I'm not defending nobody. I think all of these religions are bad. I think they're all harmful. I really do. But I don't want you to let Christianity off the hook because you live in America and you got some of the what's the word I'm looking for? You got some of the you got access to like a couple things in life that make life easier for. What's the word I'm looking for? Man, I can't think of it, but yeah, Christianity is just as violent, just as oppressive as the rest. Maybe you don't unalive physically, but I mean, you'll lose everything but your life. Especially if you're black, they'll disown you quick. Get up out of there. You ain't even black no more. I lost it. I mean, I'm telling you, bro, I lost it all.
Craig, what are your thoughts right now?
No, because for me, I don't really disagree with much of those. Well, again, I do disagree with some, like with regards to saying that you're mentally unalive for abandoning Christianity, which for me, I like something like the line or something like this, something about like the real life secular community is kind of proof that it is possible to create like new communities for people who have deconstructed and are seeking to move beyond, as well as to like advocate for our rights. And for another thing, we also have like at least the non-protections that things such as like the U.S. Constitution have, like kind of explicitly leaving religion out, despite all these. I'm trying not to get political, but all these kind of Christian nationalists would have, and their adjacents would have people believe that this is something where this is at least a country, and there are others where religion is supposed to be kept out of the public. So people bring it in, but at least we have like a point where we can like basis for advocating for our rights, as well as for advocating for people to shove off from our personal lives if they choose to like impose religion on us. And so the main thing is that if we have those freedoms, then like, or even if other people like wish to ostracize us, I mean that's on them. That's not on us. That's totally on them for believing in like basically rehashed Canaanite thing. And there's another point I don't want to skip too much, but essentially what you all had mentioned about Islam coming out of Christianity, and essentially Christianity itself came out of Judaism, but that also came out of other weird like Near East myths that were plagiarized from other people. So essentially it's like
there is no lesser of two evils is what I'm trying to say. There is no lesser of two evils. It's all
it's all evil, but I mean, like, there's more freedom, let's say, in, let's say, the United States or in Britain or somewhere where there's like Australia, where there's like over 30% of people are openly non-religious, compared to somewhere like Saudi Arabia or like Sudan or somewhere like that, where on that last point, there has actually been like direct history of religious violence, not only over religion, but over ethnicity, where essentially it's black people killing other black people because some of these people consider themselves Arabs. And that's something maybe another, but it's like they're willing to turn their back on their own culture and their own history in order to follow and kill for another person's ethnic religion and identity. And that's kind of a thing. Well, that is worse. That is worse than somewhere where you can be ostracized, but at least the system doesn't directly kill you. However, the thing is, it's like kind of, if it's like, limited time to the freedom.
Craig,
because if you,
Craig, I kind of, I'm not exactly sure if I'm following, but I feel like we're falling into a sort of a false analogy, or not false analogy, sorry, false dichotomy maybe, like, because I feel like you're presenting this position that's like, oh, Christianity is good in this respect because, well, at least they don't directly kill you, as if to say, oh, it's either you get killed or you can safely leave, So
well, I think he was saying like it's easier to leave, or it's easier to leave Christianity than
at least somewhat. Like, obviously there are still people trying to like make that so that's not the case, and there are obviously things like FLDS and other Christians that do try and violently, privately kill their members for trying to leave. But at least it's easier to debunk, and it's easier somewhat to leave, because the preponderance of the evidence of like this historical evidence just outright disproves it. And so, like, with that said, because to me, as said in my original point, I ain't trying to stand for Christianity at all. I'm just giving a comparison that thanks to the openness of kind of humanism, of enlightenment humanism, it's now easy to defend our rights against not just that, but all religions. But it's like there's a limited time to do so. And so that's kind of, I guess, going to my kind of the finishing point of like my calling is like, we intersectionalists shouldn't take our opportunities for granted, that we should do what we can to kind of help not only do stuff like this that kind of help call out the fallacies in religious beliefs, but to do what we can to promote like actual like rationality and flourishing and defending our rights against these while it's still possible to do so. And for like to a target that you can like protest and debunk, and which has a whole bunch of scholarly evidence debunking, is much better than one. But essentially, it's not to stand one or the other. It's just to say that we can disprove this. Let's be humanists. Let's be for free thought with the freedoms that we have.
Okay, Craig, I literally have no idea what you're talking about right now. Bar, are you following?
I'm trying.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about there, bud. I don't know. It seems like you don't really disagree with us on much, so I feel like we need to probably move on.
No, that's fine, but thank y'all.
Yeah, sure. Appreciate it there, Craig. I hope you have a great night, a great Saturday night. I hope you get some rest and everything like that. Continue being atheist because religion is bullshit. Thank you.
Yeah. When we looking at like comparing violence and who can leave and all that, that's not really fruitful or helpful, because a lot of like, when we talk about Christianity, a lot of the damages have been done, and people, I really don't understand why that would even be something to argue. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not sure where he was trying to go with that. I
mean, I think I understand, but it's like, what am I supposed to do with that? Is that to help me? Like, oh, thank God Christianity ain't as violent as Islam no more, I guess. I don't know.
Well, see, that's why I thought that he was going with a kind of a false dichotomy sort of route there, is because, it's like, well, Christianity's the better turd out of the two turds that are like, a religion that'll kill you for leaving. And then this one that's just like, leave, don't leave. I don't give a fuck. Like,
Islam ain't that old. These other, he's got to be talking about Islam. He's got, I mean, it's Islam. He's talking about Islam. Islam ain't that old. It ain't as old as Christianity. And a lot of these I don't understand the argument. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either. I have encountered a lot of atheists out there that are like, well, sure, Christianity's not true, but if it quells the population or it controls the population and makes them good, then it is a good thing, and so people should be Christian, if they need that. But I don't know. I feel like I've always had the opinion that any belief that doesn't comport with reality is going to ultimately be detrimental, to yourself. It'll set you up to be gullible, so that you're taken into, you're being taken by, people, manipulated by people, and it could potentially hurt yourself and other people. We do have a theist that seems to be deconstructing in the chat. We do have one other atheist. I do want to let the atheist know that we will get to you here in a second, but we do have to prioritize theists right here. So I do want to let the atheist know that we will get to them here in just a second. But first, I want to address Sam from Georgia calling in. Hey there, Sam. How you doing?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. So it says here that you think that the church can be used as a staging ground for the community, and I'm just kind of curious as to what you mean by that.
Oh, well, just as we know about like how is a technique with the churches is like you go there every week, it's not always members from your own neighborhood, but I mean, just logically, just like proximity, like most likely going to be people from your own neighborhood. You get together, you meet, you talk about ideas and about how you're going to go out for your community. I guess my example was going to be like Martin Luther King came out of the church, and like he would get the community together and, you know, speak about ideas that was very relevant for the time and pertinent for the people to go out and, you know, deal better with the world.
What are you saying? You're saying Christianity is what?
It's a very good place
for the community. It's what?
It's a very good place for the community to go ahead and meet and talk and for how to deal with the world.
So y'all, when y'all speak about Christianity and Black people, everybody tends to put the cart before the horse. I understand a lot of our heavy lifters in the civil rights movement and our fight for equality, and I understand a lot of them were Christian, but you got to understand they're Christian because of the colonialism and subjugation. Black people, African people were fighting back prior to their Christianization. Not everybody, not everybody participated in an arms race. Not everybody wanted to do business with the Christian, European, or the Muslim Arab. You got to understand that. We would have been fighting back regardless of our Christianization. This religion is a part of the destruction of African civilization. It's a part of the miseducation of Black people. It's the driving force for colonial law. You cannot come behind that and say this is beneficial to the community.
I would also add to this and say that the community that's part of church that you're talking about here often comes with stipulations. It comes with requirements, like to be part of the community, to believe in the doctrines of that particular community, and there's no room for you to disagree in that particular community. Like there's no, it's pretty hard line that you've got to at least follow along in some kind of respect within that community. And a lot of churches out there, they use that to exploit people. They use the community aspect to exploit belief out of people. Like, we've got all this community over here. You just got to become Christian. You got to become part of the community in order to really reap the benefits of it, And so they use this as an evangelical sort of talking point there. There's also this interesting aspect to it that was recently exposed by a woman on TikTok who had like a recording of a crying baby in the background, and she would call churches and be like, "Hey, I haven't been able to get a formula. Is there any way that y'all can help me out with formula?" And interestingly enough, there were a few that were exceptions, but nearly every single Christian church that she called, she was denied, and she was not helped whatsoever. So and she claimed to be part of the community that was in the church, right? There was no way for them to know whether she was or wasn't. But the fact is that they denied a person in their community the help that you say this community is there to provide. And interestingly enough, do you know who actually did provide help? Or at least opted to provide help without any kind of question of whether or not they were Muslim or anything like that.
I believe.
Sorry, I gave it away. It was
Oh
Muslims.
yeah, I was going to say I believe so. It was the blacks and the Muslims.
Well, I mean, it was the Muslims. Not exactly. Anyways, but it was the Muslims in that particular respect that were providing that kind of communal support. So I think that the community aspect of this that you think exists there is really just sort of superficial in that particular respect.
Definitely superficial. It's to the point where you see these people coming out saying that they're Christian before they're black. But if you're saying this Christianity is helping the community, why would that even be a topic?
No,
they're saying they're Christian first. How can how can a religion that was forced on us come before the community, come before the group? Because I ask you, what do you put first? What do you put first, Christianity or black people, the black community? What do you put first?
The black community.
Took you a little minute, but okay. There are people who are putting Christianity over that. That means that they're able to support a Donald Trump or mourn when a CK gets unallowed. They're able to resonate with. They're able to resonate with people who speak negatively of the community. Why? Because Christianity comes first. It don't matter what anybody does to the black community. If they're Christian, well,
excuse me,
Christianity comes first.
Excuse me. Mm-hmm. It only took me a moment to answer because I didn't want to speak over you. Like, I took my lessons from my calls earlier, and like, yeah, I do like pretty much understand. Like, yeah, if you like, most people will be adults who like base their life on a book that they never read. So it's just kind of like, well, if you don't know any better, well, then you go ahead and be accepting lines that basically go ahead and say, like, well, the enslavement of your people, there was no problem with it. They bought the heathens from the nations around them, and they beat them just like God told them, like they could beat them. But what my example that I brought out was, even still, you can make it just all about being black, just like how I'm not too well into the ins and outs of it, but just like how with Islam, if you ever go to a Nation of Islam meeting, it's more about being black than it is about Allah, you know? So you do the same thing with Christianity, with all these churches, like it's personalized. Like they have their own little ideas that they like to push forward. And like, while some of them just like, hey, have you just waiting on God while you pray? Other ones, the main thing they say is, hey, faith without works is dead. You can't just pray and not put in the work on it. So like, just like with Martin Luther King, the main idea could just be like, hey, look, this stuff that's going on right here. You see how the president sued because he didn't want to give us food stamps? It was kind of like, yeah, there's some evil stuff going on here, and we need to learn how to operate. And that could be the main thing of the church. And you have this thing that you don't have to pay taxes on the place that you're living at, and just take advantage of what you're having there. And just about how like religion could have a bigger influence than secular ideas. Like, yes, with religion, people could do more evil than what they normally would do, but they will also do more good than they would normally do. And I don't know. I'm just having the same idea with Abraham Traore. Like you have a dictator, but a good dictator, huh?
Sam, I don't think that people do more good because of Christianity. I think that they do more good because they want to do more good. Like, I don't think that Christianity is anything that like propels that necessarily. I mean, they might find reasons in Christianity to justify it, but I would say that they would justify it just by, you know, them wanting to be a good person. And just because they find things in the religion that, you know, help them rationalize it doesn't mean that that is what motivates them. And I'm not exactly sure I follow what you're talking about here. I don't know, Bar, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I would just say that Christianity is not the driving force for black people wanting liberation, and we were fighting back prior to our Christianization. You're looking at this group of people who are the descendants of enslaved Africans, and you're saying, hey, look, they're Christian and they're getting together. First of all, where else were they gonna meet at other than the church?
Exactly.
Like, right. So you're saying exactly, but you gotta understand, like, church was our only. That's all we had. That's literally all. That's all we were allowed is church. That's it. So of course we're going to organize at church, but it's 2026. We don't need that.
And my point is, like, it is a very great tool to use even still now in 2026 because of the tax exemption laws. And just like how it would be a normal thing just to get people gathered to go down to church on a Sunday. It's kind of like, yeah, it's already a thing people know to do.
As somebody that's recently formed a 501c3, you don't need to be a church in order to have a tax exempt organization.
Yeah.
Oh, I got more learning to do.
I was going to ask, are you familiar with the Haitian Revolution?
Yes.
Yeah, these were enslaved Africans who were not Christian. They fought back and they won. And they were not Christian because Christianity is not the driving force. No, we was fighting back regardless. We would be fighting back regardless. So, I mean, what you're saying is just not going to work out because dogma and theology and fear supersedes all, and it's going to come down to church being church. It's like, no, you want us to use this tool designed for colonialism and violence to then say we can turn around and liberate ourselves. What? No. Christianity is how we got in this situation in the first place. It's what they used. And no amount of cherry picking the good scriptures is going to change that. I ask people this on TikTok, but I'm gonna ask you, if the Klan came out and they reformed, they changed their dress, started building community centers and giving out backpacks, and they wanted to right their wrong. Would you take your kids to their community center and get you a backpack and something to eat? Would you do that?
I don't think so. No.
Why not? Why not? They're a Christian organization. Even though they did all that that violence in the name of God, they want to reform and change their ways, and they're giving out backpacks in black neighborhoods. Are you going to take your kids to get a backpack?
Because it takes time for tendencies to change, and with the tendencies that they had before, no, I wouldn't be able to trust them. But I mean, if you're starting from the ground
how long would it take? How long would it take before you take your child down there to get them? How long would it take? Oh man. How long?
But no, like you're talking about like trusting Klansmen versus trusting like someone from our own neighborhood with no criminal history.
I'm giving you an analogy. Between the Klan as an organization and Christianity as a religion. The religion, we took something that was a negative and we organized under it. Actually, despite it, not because of it, despite it. We was going to do this regardless, but all we had was Christianity, so we made it work. And over time, we've seen the Protestant Reformation and all these, even the Catholic Church, they came out and apologized for the papal bulls and the Doctrine of Discovery. We've seen these people come out and change, as you say, and it took time. And you're saying we can use Christianity still.
Yeah, because the book has no power. I'm pretty sure the book has no power. I'm pretty sure if I went to a Nation of Islam meeting and anybody, like, because how you said Islam came from Christianity, if anybody brought the whole, oh, hey, slaves obey your master, I'm pretty sure they'd be like, hey, get out right now. Like, I don't know. Like, you'll be able to control it. Like, one of you yourself start the organization can control exactly what it is that you're going to preach. Why would you? Oh.
Well, I want you to focus. I'm sorry, G. I just wanted to, real quick, I just want you to focus because you said that no matter how much reform the Klan does, you'll never take your child to get their backpacks and eat their food. That's what you said. And all I'm telling you is the Klan is a Christian organization, and the Christians been doing that. So if you wouldn't go down there and partake in them, all I'm saying is you don't have to do it with Christianity either. You don't have to do it.
If you had brought me people that like had no connection to any living Klan members, but hey, they just knew something of the name the Klan, and these aren't people with a history of going ahead and being racist and doing things to disadvantage minorities, but they just simply had the name, and then everything that they taught was perfectly reformed. Yeah, that's a totally different story than working
Sam,
with the actual person.
Sam,
Yeah.
sorry for interrupting, but let me try to draw upon another analogy here, similar to what Barb presented. There are plenty of Southern rednecks now that proclaim that the rebel flag is about heritage. It's about their heritage in the South, and they have no ties to the Confederacy. They have no ties to the different economic and other reasons why they left, which were all based in slavery. But they still want to fly it because of their so-called heritage. Now, my question to you is, for those people that are flying the rebel flag, do you think that just because they don't have any connection to the Confederacy, that they somehow are not representing a heritage of like racism, a heritage of slavery, a heritage of owning people as property? Do you think that just because they have somehow run their whole compartmentalization on it to make it mean something else, do you think that it actually does mean something else?
Yeah. If it's not in their heart and that's not what it represents to them, that's not what they're doing.
But you understand that the rebel flag
when
is a sign
I wave
of
the
racism
American flag, when I wave the American flag, I'm not being anti-Palestine. Like, that's not what's in my heart. That's not
anything. I don't know what the American flag has to do with Palestine.
It's the same as like someone with the rebel flag, with the, because you're talking about someone holding up the rebel flag. I'm talking about the USA flag.
No, I mean, I was talking like the USA doesn't represent like something about Palestine necessarily. I mean, as far as like
the similarity with the flags, that to both flags, they represent hatred. Like with the USA flag, so how many genocides we done and currently doing? Genocide in Yemen that we're doing now, and Palestine that we're doing right now.
Right. No, Sam, that's all very problematic. I agree with you, but for the purposes of my analogy here, the Confederacy literally forming because they could not, they couldn't be part of the United States and own slaves anymore. They left the United States. And they try to establish their own country so that they could continue to own people as property. That's something different than what you're talking about. It's not exactly a fair analogy, the one that you're trying to draw.
The United States still has slaves.
My point is that the rebel flag is definitely a soured icon, right? It is an icon for racism, just like the Klan is an icon for racism and the and killing black people, trying to quote unquote keep black people under control or make them know their place and everything like that, to the point where we over in fucking Georgia, do you know what they have carved into a fucking mountain over there?
Tell me.
In the mountain, they have a Confederate general carved into the fucking mountain. What do you think that says to people now, to the black population in Georgia? Do you think that that's like, oh, look, our heritage? of being owned by a white guy. Like, and they literally fought an entire war against other people so that they could continue owning us. What do you think that kind of, and this display is not just the only one. There are Confederate statues and everything all over the place. What do you think that says to the black population in that particular, what is that supposed to mean?
I can go off about the American flag as well, the USA flag as well.
You're dodging the question.
Killing black
Sorry, that's
people.
a pivot. No, yes, there are problematic things about that.
Terrible, and all those terrible things I can say about the USA flag.
Christ, Sam, there's no reason to yell right now. We're having a calm conversation. I don't know. I feel like we're not getting through to Sam. Bar, do you have any ideas here?
When you can't take, the miseducation of black people. This is what it boils down to, where we would get on here and do apologetics for the Klan during Black History Month. Oh man, really breaks my heart. Really breaks my heart. Which is why we have to do this. We got to keep doing this, because there are people who they don't know what's going on. They're so out of touch with reality. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I guess just to address the very specific claim about the American flag and waving the American flag, I'm very against nationalism. Like, I don't wave the fucking flag. There are people in my neighborhood that have like fucking 25-foot poles with a giant goddamn flag on it.
No.
Yeah, I know. And they've got, even especially during the summer, they fucking decorate their goddamn houses with like red, white, and blue shit all over the place. No. And I'm like, this is not like not Christian, but Christmas for, the American patriots or whatnot time. And it's all disgusting to me. So if you're trying to say like, oh yeah, waving the American flag is a lot like, saying fuck you to Palestine. I mean, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you there, Sam, but that's also the reason why I don't wave the American fucking flag. I'm embarrassed to be in this country, right? So it's falling on deaf ears. I don't know if you wave an American flag out there, but I think that nationalism is a bad thing. So I wouldn't suggest you do it. That's why the analogy doesn't work. That's why it falls flat. It's not actually addressing the issue that I have here. So I'm going to unmute you here in a second. I do want to see if you can actually answer my question here about whether or not the rebel flag is a soured icon that no matter how much the person has divorced themselves from it, it still maintains that meaning. It still has that meaning. And people in the chat were saying this, the only kind of Confederate flag that matters is the white one. All right, Sam, what do you got? Can you address it?
No.
No?
Objects don't have magical power.
Me neither. What does that have to do with it?
Oh, I was answering your question. Like, your question was, no matter how much a person divorces themselves from it, does it still hold the same meaning? And the answer is no. It's just an object.
So would you wave if you're from the South, would you wave a rebel flag in your yard?
No.
Why not?
I'm not divorced from it.
Okay. No, I'm saying that if you considering that you're not a 250-year-old person or not 250, sorry, was it like 150 or so years old, considering that you're not like from that time, if you're from the South, I don't know, you're from Georgia, it says here, so like I know that I guess my question should be, how are you not divorced from it? Is it because you're part of the black community?
It still hurts my feelings. I'm not divorced from it.
Okay. So you would agree that the icon is soured. The icon of the rebel flag has connotations that reach back to enslavement, right?
Yes.
Okay. What we're trying to say here in this still using Christianity to control people is that it has been used in the past and even used now to control people in these very toxic and bad ways, to include the enslavement of people and the mistreatment of the black population in America. That has been soured at this point. There's no salvaging it. We don't need to salvage it. We can just form a new thing that has, positive connotations to it. We don't need to reuse it. We can just form something new. That's what we're saying here. Just like you won't fly the rebel flag because of how much it hurts you, those that have left the religion don't need to use it or utilize it because it is a harmful tool to people.
Okay.
All right. Well, Sam, we have one last caller to get to, and it kind of seems like we're at a good stopping point for this conversation. Thank you so much for calling in. Continue on your deconstructing process and everything, and I hope to get to talk to you again in the future, okay?
Thank you. Good night.
All right. Good night, Sam. Hope you have a good one. All right. So we're approaching our last caller.
That was a great analogy. The flag.
No, I mean, I thought yours was great too. And I mean, I was literally just playing off of that.
That was one I thought about one day. I was like, man, this is a great question, and it'll open your eyes to what I'm trying to explain to people. Like, oh, wait a minute, I shouldn't be Christian for the same reason I wouldn't join that. No matter what they change, I would never join that. Man, boy, if I could hit you on the head, you're right on the money. That's exactly what I'm saying.
All right. So we do have one last caller to get to, Atheist. And we're going to take them here in just a second. But I do want to implore people that if you have any questions or you want to add anything to our last conversation with Sam there, please send in a super chat. We'd love to interact with you on that. We'd love to hear your thoughts about that particular topic, about whether or not you think that Christianity can be salvaged. We'd love to interact with that. So please send in those super chats, $5 or more. We would love to hear from you. So next up, I feel like I know who this is. We've got Cynthia calling in from Illinois. Hey there, Cynthia. Hi. How you doing, Cynthia?
I'm good. How are you doing, Godless Engineer and Black Atheist Rants? What's going on?
Doing pretty good. Now, the context of your call here is a couple callers back, but it's about wanting to talk about about the history of Black people going into Christianity. So I don't know, what were your thoughts on that?
So I was listening to, I believe it was Craig, who I think when he was trying to make this whole, I guess setting the premise about Christianity being easier to follow or easier to be a part of, and maybe that was possibly, and I might be insinuating, but maybe that was a possibility of why it was, it was more attractive. Yeah, easier. Yeah, he was saying it was easier to leave, but but also in a way that it could be more attractive for people to actually join, and maybe that could be an incentive why per se Black people were part of that religion, but history shows us that that's not really the case. I know that of course I'm very familiar with all of you, and I hear people oftentimes use some of that rhetoric in order for them to kind of smooth over the relations of why either Black people are, overwhelmingly Christian, or why they would actually be part of the Christian religion in the first place. I don't know if I'm the only person who shares that particular sentiment. But as we know, if we look at history and we actually see during the transatlantic slave trade, specifically when you started to see Europeans transporting African bodies off of the continent, even through my own research, the largest monotheistic religion that Africans were part of in the west coast of Africa and Central Africa, where the majority of the slaves came from, was not Christianity. It was Islam. And a lot of that is because Islam was spread from Arabia through the sub-Saharan slave trade through the west coast and central parts of Africa. There are some data points that actually show that at least about 20% of the people who came off of the continent were of that. Others were not, part of any type of westernized religious institution whatsoever. Catholicism or even a Protestant religious portion of Christianity. Now, I know that also history shows that you will see a moving or more of a conversion to Christianity specifically by, slaves and their descendants through more coercive acts. In some cases, slaves who actually converted to Christianity were treated a little bit better. They were not beat as much. They could get cleaner clothing. Sometimes their living facilities looked a little bit better. And there was some who actually thought, and during the colonial times, not necessarily when the United States became a nation, that turning Christianity was also meant as freedom. There was a lawsuit back in the 1650s where a woman sued for her freedom because her father was an Englishman and he was Christian. And she won. However, a few years later, I want to say like in 1662, 1663, the Virginia Burgess government at that particular time, because this happened, in the Virginia colony, changed a law where it said that if your father was Christian and you converted and still a slave, that will not keep you away from slavery. If they changed it more so that you would be the station of whatever your mother is. Now, in this case of the person who sued for her freedom, her mother was a slave. She was an African. The father, of course, more than likely was the owner. And so that's the reason why, some people used to think that, but that changed. And so you didn't really see a cleaving to the faith per se of African Americans in the United States until I would say like in the 18th century. And even at that particular time, that's when you even saw the beginning of the AME Church that was started by a black man named Absalom Jones, because he was a Methodist preacher who was going to a Methodist church, and the church was segregated, and black folks and slaves could not sit amongst white people. So he started his own. And then that's what happened in AME Zion Church, and then so on and so forth. So it was more so like, okay, this is a nicer thing. It's not necessarily a nicer thing, but this seems like, I don't know, like the less, even though like I know that we don't necessarily want to compare lesser of evils, but it was the less trodden road,
violent
per se.
I guess would it say violent? less violent.
The less violent road. Thank you. Yes, for one to travel.
That's what I felt like he was pushing.
I think that's what that's what he was trying. But I don't necessarily think. But of course, it didn't come out that way because he started to go all over the place. But but even like if we're looking at black folk in of themselves, and why they have the proclivity to be more Christian, first off, in the United States, 69% of the United States is Christian. So that's one. So the majority of people who happen to live here are Christians. Even when we're looking at immigrants, a lot of times, especially if they're coming from different countries that have, like, a Christian faith, like, Catholicism, et cetera, they bring their religion with them. And then we also see, like, the time period that actually we're going through when we're looking at, like, the conversion of, like, how this group of people became Christian in the first place. But, it's kind of like one of the things that I said to Esther from the Afro-Atheist when we were talking about Christianity in Nigeria, is that Christianity came through there. And I said, and when we were comparing Christianity to Islam, and I said Islam came by the sword and Christianity came by the gun. Because along with those missionaries that they sent into the African continent came their armies too. So I think that it's important to really look at the entire loaf of, Christianity in of itself, how it has affected a people, how it was used, how justification and the moral, centrism, in order for to even enact a very evil institution called slavery was there in the first place because of this. And I know that, yes, like you all mentioned, there was also other very real factors like capitalism and things of that nature that was a big driving force within that. But we cannot ignore how, even though like you may have given like dangled a little bit of a carrot to a hungry person, Christianity, but at the same time use its tenets, especially from the Old Testament, to enact violence on an entire people to indoctrinate them into your religion. Okay, I'll stop there.
No, thank you for that. I learned so much from people like you, Cynthia, as well as Bar, in this respect, in this topic area. Do you think that, playing off of what our last caller was, talking about, like reform, I guess using Christianity in a positive way, in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that, Christianity's past as far as how it's treated minorities, especially the Black population, do you think that that's kind of soured it, kind of like my analogy with the icon there of the rebel flag? I kind of feel like in this respect, Christianity is definitely, very much a soured sort of institution there.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think with anything, you got to look at the origin of it. And I mean, like, even if you look at the proliferation of Christianity throughout Europe, throughout, the and other colonies and things of that nature, it never came as a benevolent force. It may have been propagated that way, but it never was. I mean, like, I know, Bartley, you mentioned earlier about, like, how, excuse me, I'm saying way too much, how Christianity was spread through Europe. And I can think of specifically the, God, I shouldn't drink so much wine. The Inquisitions. I'm sorry, words were escaping me, times were escaping me, and I know these things. But if you think of the Inquisitions, like this, there was an Italian Inquisition, there was a Spanish Inquisition, and mostly this is when Catholics, like priests and their crusades and things of that nature, were specifically going to groups of people who were not Christian, mostly Jewish, and torturing them into confessing Jesus Christ as their personal Lord and Savior, which, now that I think back to some of the people that I saw tarrying at the altar at a charismatic church, and people screaming in their ear to confess Jesus, while they're doing tongues into their ear, probably breath stinking and everything, was also torture as well for them to actually become saved. But I digress. Coming to these people and actually telling them to renounce your faith, because if you don't, we'll basically torture you to death. This is a violent way to say, accept Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior, who is so benevolent and so loving and so kind, to put you on a rack in order for you to make sure that you are, going to follow him because he died for you. So when I think of, and that's just one of what, thousands of examples on how, this religion was spread through a very violent way. So if we're looking at that as an origin of why so many people happen to be Christian because of this violent past, and I understand that the Bible says that the kingdom of God suffers violence and the violent take it by force. And they, sometimes I would hear apologists use that scripture as well to say, well, that's the reason why I had to be violent, whether I'll say is bullshit, but that's neither here nor there. I don't get how any person with that knowledge can actually say that Christianity is something that we can reform and use in a more benevolent way when it never was used benevolent in the first place. Benevolently in the first place, rather.
I would totally agree with you on that. Well, Cynthia, thank you so much for coming on and dropping so much knowledge on us. Like I said, I learned so much from you as well as Bar and like Mandisa, and all of y'all. Y'all are great. Was there anything else that you needed that you wanted to say or anything? We do need to get to super chats, so just trying to wrap up, I guess.
No, I appreciate these conversations you guys are having. I will be on my show tomorrow at 6, so please make sure you guys watch. Okay, that's all.
Okay.
That's right. So, make sure y'all come watch.
Yeah.
Yes,
so I'm definitely gonna let Bar talk about everything that he's got coming up for everybody that's still watching. But Cynthia, again, thank you so much for calling in and dropping all that knowledge for us. And I hope you have a great night.
You as well. Thank you guys for taking my call.
All right. Thank you, Cynthia.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. All right. Well, that's all the calls that we have. That's our show. We do need to do super chats. So I really appreciate everybody that has sent in super chats. We will be addressing $5 and more super chats over there. So, yeah, there we go. Okay. So typically how we do this, Bar, is I'll do one, then you do one, and we just trade off like that. Okay.
I got you.
All right. So first up is $5 from Pastor Paul 4444. Deconverted a couple of years ago. Went to Bible college in Miracle Valley, Arizona. AA Allen's old campus. Oh, interesting.
Oh, is it my turn? Is my turn?
Yep.
Okay. This is a $20 super chat from Lilith 2. And it says, slavery was one of the worst elements of colonialism, but it sure wasn't the only crime against humanity that came from it. Exactly. I agree. Because when we speak on slavery, what's the first thing they say? Well, slavery always existed because this wasn't just slavery. It wasn't just that.
Right. Yeah, and I think that I definitely agree with you that sometimes people get way too focused on just the one aspect of it instead of the entire, like everything else that came along with it. So I'm speaking from my own position of doing that myself. I get hyper focused in on one particular point and I only focus on that. So I think that taking a broader view of it is definitely something that needs to be done. $10 from the Roots Matter that says, which I believe that's Cynthia's channel. There is nothing special about Christianity, but let's not trade facts. History shows Christianity used to demonize black folks and justify slavery. It definitely did. The curse of Ham is a thing that was used in order to dehumanize the black population.
Man, that curse of Ham was something. Because when you go and read the scripture, is like, wait a minute, if I can attribute you to this, I can do all of this to you. I'm on that. That's what they did. This is I'll say $5 super chat from KB Epsy 2009. And it says, Bar, do you think the indoctrination of the white supremacist Nazi can be reversed? I don't think we're going to be able to rescue everyone, but I do think we just got to educate the ones we can. And education is really the most important thing. People don't talk. People don't talk about history. They don't bring up history. We spend so much time on these goddamn internal critique and theology dogma that they don't know history. So education is the only way. Yep.
I totally agree about that. People are woefully undereducated, especially about like the struggles of the Black community and how Christianity has affected them. Like they're just woefully undereducated about that. 5 pounds from Mystic Mind Analysis, saying religion is nothing without people. People use religion to justify anything because it gives their biases an air of authority. That's the problem. Exactly. Religion is used to justify and make it palpable for people to dehumanize other people and to treat other people in ways that they normally wouldn't treat others.
Yeah, the people want to separate humans from religions when humans created them. Can't do that. The roots, I said roost. I was thinking about this is a $5 super chat from the Roots Matter. And it says, I am paying for advertising. Bar will be on the Roots Matter tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I love David Fitzgerald. Great human being. That's right, folks. Tomorrow I'm going to be on the Roots Matter, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Do not miss it.
Yes. And I definitely want to hear, let you give a shout out for your channel and everything like that here in a minute after we get done with all the super chats. But next we've got $20 from the gray haired gamer 3540 who says, great to have you on the show, Bar. I hope to see you again.
Yeah, well, man. I mean, hey.
You've had an amazing response in the chat, and I think that's a definite possibility.
I enjoy being over here with you, bro. And you my dog, and I'm gonna have you over there at the house. We're gonna kick it over there. We're gonna get you on the other side over there.
Yeah.
Oh, this okay. I'll be forgetting because it's my turn now. This is a $5 super chat from the Atheist Mechanic. It says, keep an eye on Chattanooga, Tennessee. They're trucking in ICE vehicles. Yeah, I know. We down here and we all going through it right now.
Yeah. That ice is a fucking shitstorm. Yeah. Well, Bar, thank you so much for coming on tonight and everything. I do want to give you that chance to sort of shill like all your stuff you got coming up, as well as your own social media stuff, where you host these kinds of conversations all the time. So definitely let people know.
Yeah. So to everybody watching, you can find me at Black Atheist Rants on everything: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Whatever else you got, I'm on there at Black Atheist Rants. You can't miss me. I usually host lives on TikTok and YouTube, like during the weekdays, Monday through Thursday. I host lives on TikTok, and I stream them to both TikTok and YouTube. So if you don't got TikTok, you can go over there and sub to the YouTube channel, and you won't miss nothing. And I try to post frequently on TikTok and Instagram. So at Black Atheist Rants. Also, as Cynthia just advertised, as she just came on the show and called in, I will be on the Roots Matter tomorrow at 6 p.m. Standard Time. We got Rocket City Reason in October. And yeah, man, we out here spreading the good word, educating people, and pushing back, man. It's just time, man. Take the gloves off, get dirty, get raw, get uncut, unfiltered.
All right, definitely. I do want to say thank you to all of the mods in the chat. And I want to say thank you to Lux for doing the producing and everything like that. Thank you, everybody that makes the show possible. You guys are awesome. And I guess we're good to cut to black whenever you are there, Lux. I'll see everybody later. Don't forget to stand up, use your voice, and all that kind of good shit, y'all.
All right, y'all.